We're live. Oh, it's so scary. Okay, well, hi everybody. Thanks for joining us. Sorry for being a little late. We had some technical issues, and not just a little ironic, given that my intended discussion today was about some technical issues I've been having. So, and I was hoping to bother MC extraordinaire, host of All Things Awesome, and Kubernetes legend Paul Czerkowski here to get him to help me with some of these issues. Are you able to help me with some of those issues today, dude?
I am able to help you with some of these issues today. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. So I'm still fiddling with the cameras and stuff for the moment. So bear with me. If you just want to kind of start off and talk about some stuff, I will.
Sure. Yeah. So good. We've got him. That's great. That actually makes me feel better because I'm gonna get free. I don't know how much it costs per hour to get a consultant of Paul's caliber. If something or somebody like that existed, they don't. But I assure you, I wouldn't be able to afford it. So by making him my co-host, I've gotten, and you're going to get the benefit of his wisdom. And today I'm going to be fiddling with Kubernetes, which is it's sure a thing you can do. It's definitely, I don't know. So I've got an app. It's a trivial app-ish. It's trivial-ish. It's not trivial because it's all just been me, but it's trivial in terms of what it does, right? It's an app that allows me to publish a podcast once a week, and I've invested must be hundreds and hundreds of hours in writing the code to support that process. So it's an amazing process for one thing that just does not need this much automation, right? I could have probably just done the podcast manually every week for the last 2 years, and I'd still be basically net zero, break even at this point. But nonetheless, it's been an interesting proving ground for me to experiment with stuff, and it took me on some interesting journeys because I had a lot of the application deployed onto Cloud Foundry, which I love because it speaks the same language that I do about infrastructure, which is I don't speak infrastructure, so it's very nice to not have to worry about it there. But there's no denying there's a movement afoot for people who don't have Cloud Foundry. There's just this incredible uptick for Kubernetes, and I figured I needed to learn it in anger, and I didn't know that there would actually be anger involved, but a little bit of this, a little bit of that. So I'm now a month into this journey of really just like diving into Kubernetes, and I've managed to rebuild the user interface for the system, and then get everything containerized, and then get it onto Kubernetes, right? Which is, I know it sounds, when I say it like that, it sounds like that's not a big deal, but it has taken me, no, I'm not even kidding, like a month to get all that stuff. Because basically before, I just had a jar or a Python application. The Python application was, if you can think about the arrangement of the system and the code here, github.com, there's all open source, so if you want to play along at home, you can. It'll only take 20 or 30 hours to get everything working. But basically, there's an API, a client, and a back-end system that does audio processing. It actually munges together all the different files that are involved in my podcast, and that's called the processor. So in theory, it's just 3 components, but there's a database, so you need to install that now, whereas that was just like a one-liner before. Now it's like you're now responsible for deploying a database. Okay, well, and then you also need I need a message bus, so there's also RabbitMQ. Okay, I'm responsible for that, and then I need to also I need configuration, right? And so one of these things that I've started realizing is, as I'm deploying more and more stuff in Kubernetes, I ended up in this really awful sort of loop where in order to deploy something into Kubernetes, my app needs, ultimately what I'm trying to do is my application needs configuration, right? It needs things like if it's a development environment, it needs to know development credentials and things like that. If it's a production environment, it needs to know production credentials, right? So I bifurcated the build along whether it's a push or a tag, and that sets up something called the BP mode, and that should ideally switch configuration sets. And so then what I had at some point was this really hackety pattern where in my GitHub actions for my different projects, I would have, I've deployed Kubernetes right now for this example on Google Cloud. So I would have Google Cloud cluster names, right? So it'd be a cluster based on development or production, right? And so everything needs to split off. And so the pattern I had was to do something like this, where in GitHub Actions I have foo development and foo production, right? And then there's a little bit of scripting to look at this variable called BP mode, and if the mode is development, then magically foo is equal to foo development. Otherwise, foo is equal to and so on, right? So you get the idea. I need one set of variables. I need to configure my application in the same way, but the variables need to change based on whether it's a production or development build. So so that was the original use case, and then it's like, well, okay, I guess I just need to put that in a config map. Okay, but these config maps are source code, and I can't exactly have credentials just laying around there. So I need to put them in an environment variable in my build, and that means I have to redeclare it at the top of the build file, the YAML workflow for GitHub Actions. So, and then of course you have to define that in the repository or the organization secrets, right? So now I've got secrets to build file to config map, and then config map to application. I'm spending my whole life originating these stupid strings from one place to another. I just want to get to the business of seeing software work, right? So I created this, I figured, okay, well, wait, I've got the Spring Cloud config server. Spring Cloud config server is pretty amazing. It's one of many possible ways you can derive configuration from something outside of your Spring application. But the Spring Cloud config server it's a REST API. So if you lock it down with Spring Boot's regular Spring security, you can just do HTTP basic, that's what I'm doing for now. Then there's no reason any old thing couldn't just talk to that, right? You can use curl, right? I figured out, why not? I'll write a little thing that will pull down information for the current build based on the environment variable BP mode, and it'll hydrate the GitHub Actions environment variables based on what it finds in the GitHub, based on what it finds on the Spring Cloud config server, which in turn talks to a Git repository, right? So that solves a lot of the redeclarations. At that point, then I only have to worry about getting the environment variables into a config map, which is, hopefully at some point the Spring Cloud team will give us a way to just say, here's a CRD in Kubernetes, and it points to the Spring Cloud config server, and it just knows that this is somehow that'll just get turned into a config map for me, but that's not here yet, I filed an issue though, so maybe. So that's what I wanted to sort of fiddle with, is just continuing to get this stuff all built and working with this new thing that I built, where I can actually source the environment variables from a configuration server, which can be centrally managed and version controlled and secured. And then I've gotten everything to work once without this. I now need to get it to work with this. And as I go through this, I need to now also take care to make sure that we have this bifurcated path where it's either production or development. And that started to introduce yet another wrinkle, which is if I make changes to certain things, like for example, my DNS, I have DNS for production versus development, and I want that to be reflected in the configuration YAML files, which means I now need to parameterize my YAML files, which this is where things go wrong. So now I've got customized on the brain. I haven't actually tried it yet. I've gotten as far as reading one blog. It looks easy, but this is from September 2019. That's 27 years ago, according to the calendar. So I don't know what has changed since then. That was, did they even have the wheel back then? We don't know. There's no way to know. So I need to figure that out today as well, since that's going to be part of my branching strategy. And then the other thing I wanted to look at today was TLS, which I have no idea about. So, yeah. Oh, and also dashboards. What do you know about dashboards? Like, what's a good way to besides get all? What's a great way to get a picture?
That is a really good question. So I would say there's two really good options depending on how you like to look at things. If you want to look at things in a internet website, you would use Octant. And if you want to look at things on the command line, uses like an N-curses type system, you would use K9S, I think it is, because we have to name everything with a K number S.
Cool. Wait, so does Octant run on my local machine?
Exactly, yes. Octant runs on your local machine, and then you connect to like localhost, port, whatever. And it will actually do that connection for you in your browser when you run it. And I believe...
What if
go ahead.
What if the cluster is not running on localhost?
Well, it doesn't matter. So it's using your kubeconfig and is talking out to your cluster. And then it's then presenting that information to you in a graphical way. And so the reason Octant does it that way is because earlier on with the Kubernetes dashboard, there was a couple of high-profile hacks where the dashboard had full admin rights, and therefore anyone that got access to the dashboard had full admin rights. And so by running it on your local machine and inheriting your permissions, A, it's much harder for someone else to get access to it, and B, it's limited. So if I was to create you an account that was only able to use one namespace, that Octant would only be able to look at that one namespace.
Okay, so let's go down Octant first, down this path. I'm glad you told me all that, because the question I had next was, is there any way for me to install this in my cluster? Well, never mind. Let's see. So I've just done brew install Octant. Do I need to do anything more fancy than that?
Let's see. You literally just now run Octant.
I can do that. I've done it. Oh, that was nice. Oh, that's schmancy. Look at that. That's so cool. Well, I feel like I've gotten prettier dumps of the same. Oh no, look at that. Oh wow. Will this help me generate my YAML, or just to apply?
No, but it can help you look at your YAML. So on the left, it's got that. Oh, you just did it. All right, cool. I was going to say you can make the sidebar bigger, and then you did it before I finished.
Awkward.
Yeah.
You'll never live it down.
Right.
So, wow, this is pretty great.
Right. So what I'll quickly tell you, so you've got a better idea of what you're navigating, is towards the top right-hand side, it says default, and that is choosing which namespace you're currently looking at. Right. And then beside that is what looks like the name of your cluster. And that way, if you have multiple clusters configured in your kubeconfig, you can browse through any of them. And so that kind of generates that applications section. And then if you click on the cluster section, that's kind of namespace agnostic, and it's just kind of looking at the overview of the cluster itself.
Where do you see clusters?
Below. So you've got applications on the left-hand menu. And then you go down and you'll see cluster overview.
Oh, yeah. Okay, what is all this?
So this is all the stuff that's running in your cluster.
Oh, I don't remember putting any of this into place. I suppose that's all built in or something?
Yeah, I think this is all built in. I would say based on what I'm seeing, this is a GKE cluster.
Yep.
Yeah, so you can see there's some stuff in there, like under custom resource definitions, there's some Google specific stuff in there. And then you'll also see if we add cert manager on there, you'll see the cert manager CRDs show up.
So that's what I wanted to, so can we talk about that a little bit?
Yeah.
Is that the TLS discussion?
Yep.
Is that really hard?
No, it's quite easy. Yes.
Okay, you heard it here, folks. Okay, so keep going. So this is, wow, what a thing. So Octane, I got to run this on my local machine. Oh, I can even do port forwards, or does it just tell me which ones are? So it's a view. It's not write. It's read.
So you can do some write,
Yeah.
but it is kind of focused on the like visualizing your current cluster. So if we find a running, I guess you haven't got anything running on here yet, have you? There's a fresh
I do.
cluster?
I've got Rabbit and Postgres.
Oh, okay. So under are they in their own namespace? No. Yeah.
No.
So click on the Postgres one.
Okay, so that's the other question is, should I do both prod and dev in the same cluster and have different namespaces, or should I just do different clusters? Because I remember Dan Wood saying just have different clusters, and that's what I've done. But hey, what do I know? Like,
I think for your use case,
yeah,
I think you're probably okay to have a single cluster.
Yeah.
For like a real enterprise, you'd probably end up with separate clusters, and you'd probably end up with separate clusters per like business unit and then per dev and prod and stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
So maybe that's what we could talk about doing, is creating a dev namespace and a prod namespace and treat them differently.
Please.
Yeah.
Would there be any? Where would there's some things that are cluster wide, like for example, the nodes themselves don't have a namespace, right? So
correct.
What are the things global?
So most things that you'll do will be namespaced. So when you're running a pod or a deployment, if you're running a service, a config map or a secret, they're all namespaced.
Okay, so I can use the same name, but there's an implied namespace there, so that's why it's distinct.
Exactly.
Cool.
Yeah. Now, if you click on the Postgres pod.
The which one? This one, Postgres?
Yeah, so if you scroll down, no, you're in Postgres. You look down under pods.
Yeah.
If you click on the pod. Now, if it has its port defined, there should be an option to port forward into it if you wanted to. So if we scroll down.
Schedule. Well, I can port forward in the command line. In fact, this is something
you can, but Octane will let you port forward from inside of Octane as well.
Where do I? So I'm missing it then.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it either, but I remember it's not always there. Like if the pod doesn't have a port specified, then no port. That port forwards is just showing you active port forwards. It's not showing you.
Right. It does. I mean, this is the spec. I'm not sure if that's too small. Should I make the font bigger?
I think it might be a good idea to make it a little bit bigger.
Done and done.
Yeah, I think that's probably better.
So it
So your service is specifying pods, but is your deployment specifying ports?
Oh, my deployment. I didn't know both had to do that.
So they don't have to, but in order for Octane to know what ports you can forward to, they do need to be specified. And so it looks like you don't have them specified. So that's why it's not giving you the option.
So is it redundant? Can I get rid of the port from the service? Or
would it just be... No, but you can use a port name as the target port if you have ports listed in the pod.
Wait, so if I have the port down here.
Yep.
Like so that?
So you port, and then if you hit enter, I think there's a name.
Okay.
So you just do like Postgres.
Yeah. How's that?
That would be fine. So I generally don't like put Postgres dash port because it's already defined as a port. And I try to be more concise. I know there are some folks that prefer to put all the extra metadata in names and stuff. So if you now at the top in the service.
The service, okay, here.
Yep. I think under target port, you can just put the name.
Oh, the name. Number. Oh, so what's the difference? I thought port was like, so it's not, are they redundant? Is port and target port the same thing?
No, so port is the port the service is going to listen to, and and target port is the port it's going to forward it to.
Okay.
right? And
Whoa.
so if you put a name after target port, it should then look at the deployment spec and figure out what the number should be.
I see.
I,
Okay,
I,
that explains.
yeah, I think that's how it works anyway. So if you were to now apply this, we would then be able to do a port forward from inside of Octant.
No. Where am I? K apply minus F BP post.
Right.
Looks
Now,
okay. So now
it didn't complain. So now if you pop back to where you were under applications in Octant,
okay. So
yeah.
whoa. It wasn't here. Where was I before?
Oh yeah. So if you under applications under workloads.
Workloads.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm in
No, on the left menu.
workloads. There we go.
Yeah. And then you'll be able to click on the Postgres deployment.
Postgres. Okay. Start port forward. Oh, yes. So cool. There we go. And I can even see what it's doing on the command line there.
Right.
Sweet. That is super duper.
Right.
I like.
And now if you pop back to Octant, and there's
I
a YAML button. First of all, you might want to stop the port forward just so you don't leave it there and forget about it.
I do that all the time.
Yeah.
This is all development. There's nothing real here. So.
Right. And you can see it's telling you like what volumes are in use. It'll tell you if there's secrets and config maps. You can see the volume mounts. So it can give you a pretty good overview of what's going on. If you scroll up to the top and click on YAML, so that's the YAML, not that you applied, but the YAML of the live objects.
Right.
You click on logs.
Okay. So logs are here. Oh, nice.
Right. And so then you can click on terminal.
Is this going to do execute? Oh, it is. Look at that.
And so now cool. If you want to run some command inside of the pod, you can just do that.
That is so cool. So we built this? Is this like a VMware thing?
This is actually a VMware thing. Yeah, I believe Brian Lyles was the kind of the primary author behind it originally.
This is genius.
Yeah.
I like this. And I wish there was all the stuff it's showing me I've managed to learn by myself, but I wonder if I had been smart enough to have sought out Octant from the get-go, would I still be wounded in quite the same way, right? I think I would have been much happier just if as an even more debutante,
right,
Kubernetes adventurer. I think I would have had an easier time of it if I had Octant.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
It's definitely great.
Click on, I think it's Resource Viewer.
Resource Viewer,
at the top.
Resource Viewer. Look at that.
So this actually shows you like how everything is connected together. There are lines there. They're not coming through very well on the screen.
Right.
Can you change to light mode for a second? Just so that the folks watching can see it. Yeah, that's better. So there's lines kind of telling you how all the resources that it's using are connected. So you can see there's a service, a secret, a service account. It's a replica set that's part of a deployment.
Right.
So this is another good way to kind of just see where your interdependencies are of a particular kube resource.
Wow. I love this. Well, this is super cool. Okay, so that's definitely my new favorite way so far.
Right.
To look at a cluster. What was the other thing you mentioned that was?
The other one I mentioned was K9S.
Like the dogs?
I guess so, yeah. And this is basically...
Oh, it is. That's so
isn't that cute?
That is cute. Okay,
Now,
brew.
hopefully they have a brew install. Yes, they do.
It's not real unless it's a brew install.
Right?
Okay. Whoa. Okay.
So if you hit the question mark.
Hi.
So these are all the different things you can do. Like shortcuts for stuff.
Is it curses? Oh, look at that. It's really
Yeah.
It's 2020.
Right?
Using the command line like this. Although I gotta tell you, if I'm gonna type, I might as well just use kubectl. I don't know. I think Octant wins it for me. This is cuter. Octant's a different paradigm,
Yeah. So the thing I found K9S really useful for is if I'm like working on something with somebody in like a TMUX session or something.
Yeah.
And that way we're both kind of looking at the exact same thing.
Right.
I agree. For my general day-to-day, I would use Octant.
Plus, I can't figure out how to get out of this menu. Oh, there it is. Escape. Yeah. Whoa.
And then I think you can do similar stuff like set up port forwards and all sorts of stuff inside of this.
It's showing me the logs, if there were logs. Okay, there's no logs.
It might be only showing you new logs versus like all of history. I would guess. I would bet that's what it's doing.
Well, that's logs previous P. Quite okay. Is it?
Anyways,
when it says P, is it just means letter? Is there anything like control P? Just P?
I'm not actually sure.
It's probably something.
Yeah.
Let me just for reference here. K logs L app equals random Q. There's logs. Yeah. Okay. Well, this one has a cuter logo. I'll give it that.
Right.
I need to explore this. Clearly, I'm missing something. I think it's like Emacs. I'll have a moment where I'll just understand the way of the world.
Mm-hmm.
This is cool, but I like Octant. You're right to start with Octant. That's a wow. I don't want to ask, but I mean, are there other consoles from brand X?
I'm sure there are. There's plenty of other ones. There's one called Lens, Lens, I think it is, which looks pretty similar to Octant. Not Google Lens.
Yeah, that'll go well. Whoa, Kubernetes IDE. Ooh, this one's more Visual Studio Codey.
Yeah, and so it's kind of part dashboard and then, as you said, part IDE. I haven't used it, but I've seen it in demos and stuff.
That's cool. I'll try it out, I guess. I don't know. This is the kind of stuff you don't know until you try, right? Like
right.
With Cloud Foundry, it was so utterly simple that there was actually a user interface, but I don't think I've ever used it to do anything.
Right.
Like even I'm happy scripting the CLI. There's just only so many things you can do, and that was the magic of it, right?
Yep.
Well, okay. And I'm all about trying to find ways to make my life simpler, and these user interfaces will give me a better perspective on things.
Right.
So thank you for that. Now well, the other thing is I wanted to learn. Is there a way to get? Okay, So see this? This is my little Postgres database,
Yeah.
and I've got the token Postgres in here 9 times.
Mm.
Why? What's happening? How do I make that stop? How do I just write it once and not worry about it again?
I mean,
I think my life would be easier things over and over.
yeah, because it's just a straight YAML file, you do just need to put it everywhere, right? There's no templating. So you could try and use, I think they're called YAML anchors, where you can tell YAML that you should use the same value from this other key, but that gets super painful.
Yeah.
And isn't necessarily what you're looking for. I don't think. And these things are all, say, Postgres because that's what you chose to call them, right? Like we could have just called the target port like SQL, right? But then other stuff like the metadata labels app PostgreSQL, that's used by the selector so that the service knows what pods to talk to. And so a lot of them are sort of reused by other things. So it's looking at where your metadata labels app is here in your deployment to determine that that's the pods that is going to point your app to.
Right. So as I understand, I'm giving every single resource a label.
Right.
And I'm also telling every other thing to point to that label.
Yeah.
Which is fine, but it just feels like one of those things where...
Yeah. And so here in your deployment is another example, right? Your deployment has metadata labels, but then the pods that it creates also have metadata labels. And so you have to put it both in the deployment spec as well as the pod template. And so there's absolutely a bunch of repetition. But I think it's one of those things where it is a bit of extra copying and pasting. But if you want to try and make it dry, you're then going to have to try and, make assumptions that may not suit some people, or you're going to have to try and write some sort of templating or scripting inside of the YAML and then turn it into a DSL.
Can Customize help with some of this? Is that not possible?
It could, but it just means that instead of you're doing name PostgreSQL, you mean doing name and then like some field that it get PostgreSQL templated into. I think maybe what you could use is if we're using something that was treating Kubernetes resources more as like objects in a programming language, then maybe you'd be able to sort of code in a lot of those assumptions to suit you and
variable. See, I was thinking about that.
Or you wouldn't even, or you'd never even see it because it's hidden behind the code anyway, right?
Right. Yeah. So I would have to script my deployment with code, which I could. Right now the YAML is not so horrible, but
right.
I can kind of see. I'm sympathetic to the people who, when you get to 1,000 lines of YAML, you officially start thinking there's got to be another way.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And so there's stuff like Pulumi, which is one attempt at doing Kubernetes resources as code. And isn't there that new thing from Amazon that tries to do it as well?
I don't know. How do you spell Pulumi?
It's not Halloumi, that's for sure. There you go. Thanks, Google.
Yeah. Before I begin.
So Pulumi isn't only Kubernetes. It's kind of, I think it supports most of the like cloud providers and resources.
But what's it do?
Is there an examples? Like,
oh, this. Well,
but I feel with things like Pulumi, you're kind of just changing a YAML problem into a JavaScript problem.
Now and that's even worse, and it's much harder to debug.
Right.
With YAML, you have no pretense that you can debug, so you don't tie yourself in the knots. But with this, it's JavaScript.
And the other thing on that is, we often talk about like infrastructure as code, and you end up trying to be cute and be super dry and stuff, and becomes very difficult to maintain. Whereas with the YAML, you kind of infrastructure is config, and so you don't have the opportunity to be cute and confuse yourself, which I see as often a benefit of kind of that more simplistic interface.
Yeah, I like that. And if I'm honest, I only really care about this dry problem after I'm making changes to it. So the very first time, I don't write that manual. Like I've learned how to use the kubectl create deployment, create service, whatever shortcuts, and so that gives me the 80%. And then if I decide to add something or change something, then only then artisanally make changes to my artisanal YAML file. It's
exactly.
It's fine. It's not the biggest problem. I just want to figure out this. I want to figure out this. I don't even know where I left. I was working on this last night, but I want to the TLS and the different environments for the customized. That's what I was talking about. Yeah, customized. Yeah. I wanted to get that sorted out. I got this whole thing. By the way, do you know much about GitHub? Like, okay, another question, just conceptually. I'm not going to do it now, but conceptually, what would I would need to build so that Kubernetes could talk to Spring Cloud Config Server to get config maps? Like, I want to be able to create a thing, a custom resource, I guess. Is that what
so you could do, let me think. So HashiCorp Vault have an interesting thing they do, which could be applicable, which is they actually write a storage plugin so that you can use keys and values stored in HashiCorp Vault as files in a file system. And so you could probably do something similar with a config server.
Okay, I'll look at that implementation. Okay.
But it's it's not trivial.
Well, yeah.
Like, I mean, right now, like the majority of the stuff in your config server are going to be Spring related. So for now, at least, you're better just using like the Spring integration with the config server.
Well, so it makes sense to do that, but I have to. It's the I need some things at build time. That's the first thing, and the second thing is I'd like to not have to for my apps at runtime. Yeah, they will just definitely talk to it. But I have a Python app, for example. My Python app doesn't know about Spring Cloud Config Server, so I'd have to write the code. I'd like it just to be there. Like if it's available as a config map, then everybody can use it. If it's available through config server, then almost everybody can use it. And am I okay with that? Of course I am. But think of the little people, like.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess if you're using the config server, then you need to think about, do I have secrets in my config server? And if so, do I need to have some way to say which things are config maps and which things are secrets? And you can quickly fall down like a rabbit hole of things. I mean, what a lot of people have been doing is just using config maps and secrets and stepping away from using config server. But then that assumes that everything you're running runs in Kubernetes. And it also assumes that you're either creating the config maps and secrets, or you have some sort of script that's like parsing a Git repo and creating them, or whatever.
Yeah, I don't like that. I'd much rather it be the other way around. Creating the config maps is tedious. Storing things in a property file is much easier. So I'd like to originate as much as I can from config server, and then let Kubernetes and Spring figure it out from there.
Yeah, and so another thing you could do is, this might not be a bad way to handle it. If you wrote a really small Spring app to collect the data and then dump it in a file, you'd be able to then run that as an init container.
Yeah.
And then if you wanted it to be dynamic and have it rewrite it, then you would have it as a second container in the pod.
Wait a minute.
And that way.
It's funny you should say that.
So like a sidecar.
Well, okay, don't make it. You had me at CLI to dump it, but I'm a simple man, so don't get
Right.
too far ahead of me. I think we have half of. So the other problem I wanted to solve was I want to get that information from the config server for my GitHub actions, right? I don't want to have to constantly go to my secret section and redeclare it there and then in the build file and all that stuff. So I went to my little IDE and I wrote this little tiny trivial, nonsensically quick Java program. That's it. It's 94 lines. And all this does is it expects, username, password, the application name, the profile, the profile is development or production, and then where I want that all dumped out to, what file I want it to be dumped out to.
Yep.
I could have just done redirect actually, but hell, I probably should. I could just support -- and do output or whatever. So anyway, that works. So all this does is it connects to the config server, gets all the JSON, and then creates a file. And the file that it creates is it's new line separated, key equals value. That's it. So key equals value, new line, key equals value, new line. And the reason I did that is because if you want to have a value contributed to GitHub Actions as an environment variable, it needs to be redirected to the output. It needs to be output to a file called $Github_env,
Yep.
whatever that is, right? And so if you do that, everything after that step in the workflow can see those values in the environment.
Yep.
And so I wrote this, and this also compiles into a native image, right? It's using GraalVM. So you don't need the JVM, and there's a release here I did, and so you can just do GAC. That sounds like some of what you're talking about.
Yeah. I mean, that's everything I'm talking about. So if you were to write this.
You made it. You had other things after this part. I didn't understand the init container and all that.
Yeah. So basically, if you have this as, if you build this into a Docker image, which easy, you would put this in your pod as an init container. And so what that means is it would run, it would write the file, and then it would exit, and then it would start your actual application. And your actual application would look at that file as a config file.
Well,
and if it's a Python app, what you described sounds like a valid Python ini file. So it would probably work as long as the values match the values the Python app expects to see.
Oh. And so I would just have like a shared persistent volume or something between the init container and the actual container? Or how would they share the data?
Yeah, so you can share a persistent volume, or even just it's called an empty dir, which is like a folder that's ephemeral and lasts for the duration of the deployment or pod.
Yeah.
And that way the two things can share them.
Can we try that?
Sure.
Okay. Okay. So, great. So this is a Linux binary. I guess I need to write a Docker file. If I'm honest, this is not something I was looking for. Wait, will Paketo help me out here? What's it going to do with the static binary exactly? And by the way, I need to pass in environment variables. I can do that with Kubernetes though, right? That's easy.
Yeah. If it's a static binary, it'll be like a 4-line Docker file.
Okay, let's do it. Yeah. So I'm going to download this thing here. Show and Finder. Actually, maybe I could do the Docker creation in this build.
Let's do it in the repo, and that way you can set up a GitHub action at some point to do it.
Sweet. Okay. Oh, this is exciting. This could actually solve two problems for me and for others. Okay, so GitHub, workflows, Maven. So basically I disabled it doesn't do anything really special on push. It's just on git tag push.
Well, before we create the GitHub workflow, let's create a Docker file and actually make sure you can build.
Okay. So I feel like the Docker, I've been creating I've got every single one of my projects now has a deploy directory and a .github directory. And I'm not sure if the deploy is be inside of the .github, and what's the right?
Yeah, so it's kind of dealer's choice. The only thing is, if you have a deploy folder, you need to make sure you're not putting any secrets in there.
Oh, sure. I mean,
or you don't want it to leak information that could be used against you. So not just secrets, but also, if there's some way someone can guess that you're putting files into S3, then they can like narrow down the attack surface they need to investigate to figure out how to get to your files.
Oh, yeah. I mean, well, but somewhere, presumably, what I'm putting in my deploy directory is just all the code related to containers and Kubernetes, right? It's
for me, I stick that stuff in my repo.
Alongside the app.
Alongside the app, yep.
Right.
I'll take them out of the app if like multiple apps are really tightly coupled and need to share the same stuff. But if the app is pretty self-contained, then I totally keep it in with the app. And
you and I talked about that. And by the way, like I ended up, not for a tangent, I ended up creating a deployment repository, which is, and this incepts everything, right? This is where most of the craziness I've been working with that I've been describing started, right? So this deployment directory contains RabbitMQ. No, it actually creates the cluster if it doesn't exist on Google Cloud. It then creates external DNS, PostgreSQL, RabbitMQ, and the config server. Actually, not in that order, but all those four things should, if you have nothing and you give it valid credentials and all that stuff in the environment variables, you should have those four things.
Right. But there's no reason this entire thing couldn't be in your code repo, right?
Well, it could. There's not one code repo, right? There's three different things that depend on what's set up in this deployment directory. So all my other projects have a deploy directory next to them, right? So
I guess what I was thinking was all of these things are like supporting actors for the main star, and the main star is really the only one with code, right?
Right. There's several of them though. So
okay.
API, like there's 5. Let me see. There's the API that needs to be deployed to Kubernetes.
Yep.
There's the desktop user interface. It's a Vue.js application that gets deployed in Nginx.
Yep.
There's the site generator, and there's the processor. So these all have a deploy directory in them, right? So actually deploy, right? And then processor, deploy, and you can see.
Okay. Yeah, and then so the deployment repo then calls into each individual repo's deployment scripts?
No. I assume that if I make a change to my desktop app, that the GitHub workflow for that will be the thing that updates it. There's no single command and control thing to deploy everything.
All right.
Gotcha. But something before everything else can work. So that's what this deployment director does.
Gotcha.
I don't know. Is that?
Yeah. This all sounds like it makes sense. So basically, this deployment repo basically bootstraps all of the things outside of your code's requirements, and then each repo then takes care of just itself. Yeah, to me, this is perfect. This is what you want.
Okay.
I'm happy.
So I was wondering about the config server is a Spring Boot application, but I treat it as infrastructure.
Exactly.
There's no code in that for me. There's no value in there. So even though I'm maintaining the source code for the config server, this is source code, right? It's this one annotation. Right. I'm basically treating it just like a Postgres or a RabbitMQ. So even though I've got this living in a separate code repository because I have to compile it and turn it into this infrastructure that I then deploy, this is the only thing that has code that I then, from my command and control deployment project, end up deploying, right? Like I said, so if I go down here, I do the git clone, go to the deploy directory and run deploy.sh. But even that, all this does is it calls the deploy script in this thing in the config service, and that just deploys the Kubernetes stuff. It doesn't actually rebuild the container. The rebuild of the container happens when you change the code in the config service itself. Yeah.
Perfect.
So it's okay. Okay, so back to the more interesting thing, which was that hackery we're going to do with Docker files. So Config client. So I guess my question is, this is a fairly new thing. Do I put the Docker file in? I've been using build packs for everything, so I've managed to avoid a Docker file thus far.
Well, let's put, like, usually you put the Docker file in the root of your code repo.
Awkward. Okay, Docker file.
Yeah.
More at the core, at the root.
Yeah. And then, so you would do, so you need to start with a from. So from, let's maybe start with Alpine and see where we go, because Alpine's a pretty small base Linux.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. And then you can do copy. And then wherever the binary is.
Right. So about that binary.
So I assume you already have a GitHub action that's building the binary, right?
Yeah. It does a release, like a GitHub release and everything.
Yeah.
So let me try it out. I'm not sure where it dumps the. I guess it's in here somewhere. Target config client. Yeah, that's the thing that gets uploaded as release. So I could put that's in the target directory relative to the root, right? Where's my Docker file? Here it is. Okay. Where does it go? Just dot?
So like wherever you want it to run. So you might do like /app. Like that's pretty common.
Okay, like so.
No, as in like a slash, not a ./.
Oh, literally the root of the operating system. Oh,
yeah.
Right. It's a lightweight distro, not multi-tenant. Okay, good.
And then you'll want like do you need to configure it at all?
So it takes parameters, right? It takes command line arguments.
Okay. So what you'll want to do then is set an entry point. And then that'll be /app and whatever the name of the binary is.
Wait, actually. So it's called, okay. So can I rename it? It doesn't matter. Okay, config client, that works. Okay.
I mean, you can if you want, but it doesn't really matter.
Right.
Actually, you know what? Instead of entry point, use, oh boy, what is it? Is it run or?
There's a run, yeah.
But there's run, which is run this thing in the container, and there's run, which is telling Docker which thing it should run. Because I find entry point a little bit awkward because it does mean if you ever want to run like a bash shell to like explore the container, you've got to override the entry point.
Okay.
So I generally avoid doing an entry point.
Okay, I'm happy to avoid it too then.
But I can't remember if it's, you can set a default command. Maybe it's just command cmd.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. Okay, and so that'll be /app/config client. And that I think it wants to see as an array. So maybe put square brackets around it, even though it's one field, and probably quotes as well. Yeah, and so I think you can just, as long as you've already, have you built that already?
Built what?
Or can you, the binary?
Right, let's do that right now. So SDK list Java. What am I doing here? I gotta switch my compiler to do it, but yeah, I can do it. So let's see. R8, here's this one. SDK, use Java, this one. Okay. And then now build, now it's build, deploy, no, bin. Let's see if we comment that out. Don't need this. Okay, so this will take a minute. It's not like Go where it's super fast. It's
Right.
agonizingly slow. It could literally take a minute for that 100 line, less than 100 lines of Java code.
But that's sacrificing compile time for runtime, right?
Yeah.
It's doing all of the work up front so that you get a nice fast.
Yeah, but Go does the same, and it's way faster.
Yeah,
it's a shame.
Go isn't trying to wrap 30 years of horrible
That's
people
true.
doing horrible things in a programming language.
And Rust, which also has no runtime, Go actually has a runtime, right? It's just very small, whereas Rust doesn't. And that's even slower to compile.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Almost there. Actually, it's going along pretty quick. They say I watch pot never boils, but
that's right.
Fake news. Come on. Almost there.
Now, I assume that gigabytes number on the side isn't the size of the compiled code.
No, just the memory resident in the compiler right now.
Gotcha.
It's done. So
now you should be able to do a Docker build.
Okay, Docker build.
Yeah, Docker build -t and give it a name. So just whatever, like config client, whatever you want to call it, and then dot.
Oh. Okay.
And now do Docker run. Do a -ti.
Like that.
And then --rm. Those might need to go before the name. And then hit enter, and there is no app config client. Is it not a directory? Are you trying to mount? What did we do?
Wrong.
Let's have a look at your. So you've got a target directory now in your directory, and now you've got a config client. Oh wait, I see what we did.
It's one of us.
I was thinking config client was a directory, but it's actually an app. So what we actually just did was copy target config client to just a single binary app. So you might want to do app/config client in the copy line.
Couldn't I just do /?
I mean, you could, sure.
Okay. Make it less dramatic. So that could work, right?
Yeah. And the rebuild you'll need to rebuild it, but it should be quick.
Yeah. Can I build docker.sh? Just for now, so I don't have to rinse and repeat some. Exec format error. Oh, because I'm compiling on a Mac, but I'm running inside of a Linux.
Yeah.
Right. In GitHub Actions, this would work.
It would.
Yes. Well, how do we prove for now that that I can get variables and pass them into, like, it's expecting GACC space parameter 1 space parameter 2 space parameter 3. Like for now, can I just create a mock program to prove that it works?
Well, really, you just need to make sure the container, like the binary, will run in the container. So we need to figure that out. I mean, we could build it inside of a container.
Okay. Well, wait. Couldn't I just build it inside of GitHub Actions? which is Linux, which is fine.
Yeah, absolutely. But like I'm talking about like for like locally for testing.
Okay, let's do that.
All right. So what you can do is above all of that, we want to do another from line, and then is there like a Graal VM like image, Docker image up on the Docker Hub?
Oh, you want to do that? Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Docker Hub Graal VM image. I'm sure it's possible. Yeah. I mean, it looks like there's. That looks like it would have it.
Right. Now, but does it talk about actually doing the build?
No. Oops.
I mean, I guess, do you think you'd be able to run that Maven command inside of that and it should work, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, why not? Yeah, sure. We could try. Yeah. I mean, it's actually. I'm not even sure if I need Docker. I'm not even sure if I need Graal VM on the installed for this. Yeah, I think I do. Let's try it. You want to try it? Like, if I use this, presumably all the tools I need are going to be installed there. It'll be Java. Oh, I'm not sure if I'll have Maven. I'd have to install Maven.
Right.
This sounds like a tangent.
Yeah, this does sound like it might be a bit bigger than you expect.
What if I just, for now, let's just get rid of this, well, or rename it. Just go away. Whatever. I'll create a new file.
Oh yeah, good idea. Just like remove that and just grab the binary from your releases and stick it in the right place.
Oh, I didn't even think of that. That's even better. Okay. Yes.
Like I would maybe just delete that entire target directory and then create a new one and just stick config client in there.
That hurt me, but we did it. We did it. Okay, so go from here, go to the releases. That's even better. GAC. I already downloaded it earlier. Look at that. Okay. And then, I need a target directory here. Target. Okay. Goody. Yeah. Okay, so now we've got the real thing, the real McCoy, as they say.
Yeah. And so now you can do the Docker build again.
Docker build. Build.
Uh-oh.
Ruh-roh.
Target config client not found? Oh, it's now GAC, yeah.
Sure. Fun. We're having fun. Permission to...
Chmod. Huh. We'll get there.
Which makes me wonder, am I not doing that in the actual build for the project? Upload releases. And chmod ax target. What is it called? So it's just called config client by default. Yeah. There. Okay, that'll solve that problem next time. Okay, so exec user process, no such file or directory. Huh? Copy target. I feel like that's not quite fair. Did I miss something obvious? Did you disappear?
Sorry, I had muted myself and forgotten. Yeah, just run it again, or did you just run it again?
I ran it again. It's unhappy. Let's try this. No such file or directory.
What?
Standard Linux.go.
Into Docker. Like, like it looks like it finishes and then exec user process cause.
What's a more full Docker container?
Maybe just try doing a Docker run on it.
Yeah.
Like, because
This, you mean?
oh, I see. You've got a Docker run in build. Okay, I
Yeah.
see. So it's complaining about no such file or directory.
Maybe it's not
so-
something. Is there a full-featured Docker image?
Yeah, we could try like something else, like Ubuntu.
Okay. Fingers crossed.
Or maybe, are there like Graal VM runtime things that you need? Oh,
That worked, by the way. Ubuntu.
oh, cool. So if you run that Docker run command again, and then you can pass in the arguments, it should just work.
Right. Okay, Docker run. Okay, so for now, let's see, do I have a config server running somewhere? I do, I must. So get all service configuration. So I want to port forward this thing here.
But you've got a load balancer, so you can just access it.
Oh, I made that external? Why did I do that? Oh, because I'm going to use DNS. I have DNS already set up. That's true. You're right. Okay, so
I assume it's got some sort of password on it.
Oh yeah. Development dot Bootiful Podcast .online. Okay, and this is my development site server, so I don't really care if people see because I'm going to throw it away later. Here. Okay, so that worked good. So I can source this, and then in theory, from here, source desktop config server creds.
So that won't pass it into Docker. You'll actually need to pass it in as either environment variables on the command line, or I think you can do like a --env file and pass in that file name.
Are you saying I would have to do minus? Wouldn't I just do minus -e?
Yeah, you could and do them individually, but if you already have a file there, you might be able to use that as if that's a valid env file, you can use it.
Oh, okay, let's make it one. Okay, so config.
Oh, that's right. There's that. The difference is export versus.
Yeah.
Well, we can just pass them in as environment variables. We'll just do 3-e's. Either way.
Yeah.
Because that's probably more like what we're going to do in
the real thing.
In the real world, yeah.
Okay. In that case, so comment this out for now. So we're going to do. We're assuming the presence of that file and the environment variables therein. The first of which is called username. Okay, password. And now I've already forgotten the rest. Let's see what else we need here.
The host name.
Host name. Yeah. So HTTP. Is it just a host name, or is it like the full-on URL?
I don't know. It's your code.
Oh, app name. It's the app name. So I need the app name, which is
so you need deployment. User, password, app name, and then said something about profile.
Yep. Profile is next, and then profile is. Actually, that's a good point. What is the host name? How does it know what it's talking to? I just wrote it. Who can read this stuff? Let's see. Did I hard code the host name in this case? I don't think I did I? No. String application name, config server URI. Where is it getting config server URI from? Oh, okay, profile.
So it's in the args, you just forgot to put it in there.
Yeah. Right, usage. Some usage that would have been, that's right. Terrible. Okay, so, okay, Okay. Okay, so config server username, password, app name is deployment, profile is development, config server URI is configuration.development.bootifulpodcast.online, and the output path is, what should the output path be? That's the file I want to write it out to, right? So normally there'd be
right. So I would maybe just call it like /output/ whatever the file name you want to have.
env, whatever. Okay. It could be random. It doesn't matter. Okay.
Well, you don't want it to be random because GitHub's going to need to. Something will need. Like, let me think. You'll run this as an init container, and so you want it to be like a known thing. So like what is this? Is this a config?
Yeah.
So maybe /config/ like gack.ini or something.
Perfect. Like that, output config ini?
Yep, that'll work.
Okay,
actually,
so,
you know what? I would just put /config gack.ini.
Okay, but who's going to create the config directory?
We can create that in the
script, in the Docker container?
Yeah, we can create it in the Docker container, and then it will get overridden by a volume in Kubernetes. So
Okay.
you'll want to do after the copy.
Yes.
You can do a make dir, like a run space make dir /config.
Like so?
Yep.
Okay.
Save that off. And then rebuild it.
Okay, good. So. Did I miss something?
No, that's because you've got that run command back in there.
Well, don't I want that?
Oh yeah, you do want that. Let me think. Why did it let us run us? Why did it let us run it earlier? Oh, I know what it is. So when you do a Docker run and you specify a command, it overwrites the command you provide. So on that first line, you want to do /gack after config client.
On the first line of what? On the first line of
the script you were just on.
Okay.
The build script.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you do the Docker run -ti rm config client, right after config client, just do space /gack.
Okay. 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 Fun.
/gack.
Yes. Like so?
Yep.
Oh. No such file or directory. There's no file. There's no directory called.
Does that file need to exist?
Well, the directory needs to exist.
Well, it's saying that the file doesn't exist.
I don't know. It shouldn't matter for the file, right? It's just opening it to write it. So
I don't know.
Well, let's try it again. Like, what if I just went to /? Can I do that?
Yeah, you can do that.
That way there's no directory required. Oh, look at that. So do I. Okay, no such file or directory. File not found. How?
So maybe it is expecting that file to pre-exist.
That's not how it. I'll eat my hat. If I had a hat, I'll buy a hat and I'll eat it. If that's. I can understand the directory, but the file, like, that's not how file writing works. Let's see here. What am I doing actually? So opening up this file, the file reference here. Oh, you know what I'm doing? Here's where
you're
I need
reading it.
right, and so I guess I'm going to eat my hat. So if
hat soup.
hat and sriracha, because basically I want to make sure that if some other process contributed to that file before I did, that I also don't overwrite it, right? I want to make sure I preserve what's already in there. I have to do an append, right?
Right.
They use GitHub Actions. They expect you to do, foo equals bar that to GitHub env, right?
Right.
I had to preserve that behavior here in Java. Okay, fine, whatever. So, and actually, since we're at it, while I'm at it, couldn't I just print this out to the console? Would it be better to write this straight to the? It'd be more Unixy if it was writing out standard out, wouldn't it?
Yeah, you could write it to standard out, and then in the command line do the redirect to a file.
Yeah.
But also you could do. You want to see a dumb trick?
Yeah.
So rerun that command, the docker run command.
Okay.
And then for the output path,
yeah,
set to /dev/standard out.
Oh, I like where you're going. Okay, so I'm going to rebuild that thing. Huh? Did you just create an infinite loop? Should I rebuild my image?
Shouldn't need to.
I think Java can both have a pointer to standard out?
Yeah.
Okay, something's very, very afoul. Okay, wait, so.
All right, well, why don't you, because we don't want to recompile the app. So in the Docker file,
yeah.
Why don't you do a touch of the file name? So do do an and on the same line as the make dir.
Yeah. Config gak.ini, is that what we said?
Yeah, but obviously you need to make it first, and that you need to make it then touch it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So make your config and then touch config that. Okay, whatever. Good.
Yep.
And
then change the. Your screen share just disappeared.
My fault. Fixing it now. There we go.
Hey, there you are.
So in this, it'll go to config.gak.ini.
Yep.
Oh. Good. So now let's run the whole thing again. There we go. That seems to have done it. How do I get the file out
now? So now what you could do is in the docker run command, you can do a -v.
At the end?
You'll want it before, yeah. And then /temp/config:/config.
We're having, so is this?
But you'll actually want to create that and put a gak.ini in there. Otherwise, you'll have the same issue.
Where? In which?
So this will be on your local host.
Right. So which one is which? Which one is my local host? /config.
Yeah, the /temp/config is your local host.
Does Mac have regular /temp? Yeah, it does.
I assume it does.
I knew it had I know temp works, right?
Right.
Well, at least do. No? Oh, well. Does make temp still work? Yeah, that works. I would have gotten something there. Okay, so, okay, temp config. So you're saying I need to...
So just create that directory and then stick a touch of gak in there.
Right. Oh, wait, no, we want config to be a volume, though. Is that true?
Yeah, you want config to be a directory. So you want to make the temp config and then.
Okay.
You need to touch the file still.
Huh. Okay.
So just do a touch/temp/config/gap.ini.
Yeah.
Because basically you're overriding /config in the container, so it no longer has that file you touched in there.
Oh. Okay. Yay!
Look at that.
Sweet nectar. So can we turn that into a thingamabobber for? I can turn that into a config map, right, from a file. Is that the idea?
Well, no, you won't need to, because you can run this as an init container and share the volume, and that way the Python app will have access to that file.
Huh.
Now, what you could do is you could turn this into something that looked like a controller and watch for config maps with an annotation. And when you see them, go and collect the information and add it to the config map.
Yes.
But that is not something we're doing today.
No. But that's the Byzantine kind of solution that I'm expecting from you, Paul. This is why we pay you the big bucks.
That's why you pay me the mediocre dollars, sir.
Yeah, well, you know.
Mediocre money will give you mediocre solutions.
No, I mean, we got there eventually. I'm excited about the opportunity here. Actually, but if I'm honest, I do prefer the idea of having a config map more than the file, because I don't want, if I'm going to use config maps, I might as well have something that's consistent, right? As opposed to now I've just pushed it down the line. Now I've got a file for Python and I've got environment variables for Spring, whatever. It'd just be nice to have so what's the easy way to turn that into a config map?
Well, so here's the problem is you would then need if you were to do that, you would probably run it as, I guess you could still run it as a config map, an init container, but you would need to give that init container permissions to create config maps in the Kubernetes API.
Oh.
And it's going to have to make API requests. But here's the thing, if you're creating it as a file, whether it's coming from a config map or coming from a file, you're still ending up with a file in the same place, right? Because if you did this with a config map, you would mount it as a file anyway.
Oh, right.
So this is where you might use something like customize and have an option that says, will you pre-provide a config map, or do you want me to create one using an init container? And then it would modify the manifests accordingly and add the init container or add the config map.
Wow. Okay.
So I think doing it as a file is probably the correct way to do it for now.
But I still want message as an environment variable for my Python app. See what I'm saying?
Well, you can source it.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. So you might wrap your Python app in a small bash script that's going to source this file and then run your Python app. Or you could have. How can you write the Python apps? It's really simple to have them read a config file.
Totally.
So you could also just say config file or environment variable, which is pretty standard.
Yeah.
But basically, to create it as a config map, you need to have write access to the kube APIs. If you want to try and then modify the deployment manifest to add environment variables, again, you're going to need permissions to the kube API. And
what if I did it with my Docker build, my CI environment where I have full access to everything?
But then what happens when the config changes? You've got to rebuild it.
Sure, but I'm expecting to rebuild it. Like there's nothing in my code that's going to be. It's not going to refresh itself. It loads the stuff into memory when it starts up, and
right. But like to reread the config right now, all you need to do is like do a rollout of the deployment.
Yes.
Right. Whereas if you do it at CI in the build time, you need to rebuild it and then put a new image version in the deployment and then have it roll it.
New image building, a new image of
your
I'm just config maps, don't I?
Well, then your CI I guess you could do that.
I'm just going to delete the old config map and replace it with. It'll do the same process. It'll go to the config server and get the new stuff, create the new config map.
Right. You could do that, I guess. But then if you're using like GitHub as your config server, then you could just have GitHub write the values from GitHub.
Well, the problem is that when you go to GitHub, that's all locked down, right? I don't want to have to authenticate there. Right. And the config server is also authenticated, but at least that's a well-known path. And also there's conventions that need to apply. So GitHub, the Spring Cloud config server, is it development, is it production, this app or that app or whatever.
That's true. Yeah, so you could do this at CI and then just have it rebuild. Rerun this to create the config map and then restart the app anytime the config server, like the contents in Git change.
Yeah. Contents that affect this thing. Yeah. So most of my config will be like runtime stuff, like but some stuff is going to be shared infrastructure, like configuration, password, and username for the SQL database. Both my apps and Postgres need that.
So if you want to do that, do you already have some sort of GitHub action on? Because you're storing your config for the config server in GitHub, right? That's what.
No, it's on GitHub. Yeah, exactly. So if you go to here, github.com, Bootiful Podcast, configuration, private repository, of course. Not that there's anything in there that I am ashamed of, but configuration. And you can see I've got these very sensitive values in there. One is called hello production, and the other one is hello development. So I wouldn't want that to.
When you the config server is polling GitHub, right, and updating its values.
Yes, immediately. Yeah.
Right. And so you've got, I guess one thing to think about is what happens if you were using something else as the source for the config server. If that was the case, then you would need the config server to webhook at GitHub to say, I need you to rebuild this because it's changed. Right? So you can do it with GitHub Actions right now because because you're using GitHub as the backend, so you can kind of cheat your way through it.
Right.
But
and so that's actually a great point. Spring Cloud Config Server gives you an event bus.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can actually tell it to publish a notification. I could then write a little thing to listen for that event whenever there's a change in GitHub.
Mm-hmm.
And it would then issue a GitHub action event dispatch, which would trigger the build, which is, what's that, Rube Goldbergian, but hey, it would work.
But I feel like it's a bit less Rube Goldbergian just to create the file as an init container.
Yeah, but I don't want my code responsible for sourcing its own config. It would have to, I guess it could do. But I just don't want environment variable. My code expects environment variables, not property files. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So, we can turn this into, like, we can source it, like, right?
Yeah.
Like if you do a // blah, 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 that'll source
Okay.
it. And then so we'll just need a really thin, like, shim wrapper around your Python app.
Okay, let's do it. Well, let's see. Okay, yeah. So I need to get the Python app up and running before we can make this new thing working. Is that true?
Well, let's think about what we need to do to actually. So we've created the file in /temp config.
Yeah.
So yeah, now I guess we could go to the Python app and let's validate we can source that as a file and run your Python app and just see if it works.
Okay, let me quickly get this all built. So let's commit everything, all these atrocities.
Right.
Does it look like it worked? I mean, what should I have been doing in my build here? My build, what is the...
Well, so the thing you'll want to do is not do that touch. So you'll want to update the GAC code with the if file doesn't exist thing that you put in.
Right. I did that, yeah. So I want to,
Okay.
so I don't want to touch this, right? I just want to get rid of that.
Right.
I do need the direct, but presumably GitHub env. Okay, that's okay. Yeah, so that's fine. Config. And then
let's have a quick look at the build script you had for it.
this is okay. So let me go back to my GitHub workflow here. GitHub action. The build step is just right now. I'm not publishing a container. I'm just publishing the binary.
Right.
So I'll have to modify this to publish to GCR, and then, is that true? That sounds true.
Yep. Do you have? Are you already pushing any images to GCR?
No. Oh yes, for other things. Yeah, totally. But not for this.
Right.
This I figured I just.
So you can copy and paste the bits from somewhere else and just yeah.
Oh yeah. I love copying and pasting. It's how I sleep at night.
What is it? Good developers copy, great developers paste.
Right. Okay, so this is 51 lines of code. My GCR nonsense is gonna double that. Let's see. Right. So setup. Here we go. All this good shit. Okay.
Well, hang on. You don't need all of that.
Well, most of it. Hold on. I need to connect to GCP.
Right.
I'm not gonna need these last two actually. Here, right? I don't need the Google Cloud Containers credentials, but I do need this.
Yeah. So I guess you need up to the auth configure Docker.
Yeah. Thank you, IntelliJ. It's nice that you have my side.
Why is automatic tabbing in YAML files still an unsolved problem?
Why is YAML?
Right. Well, there is that. Yeah. So that's setting up your accounts and keys. So it looked like you had that G-Cloud quiet auth configure Docker you needed to set as well.
Say again?
If you look at the code on the left.
Yeah.
That run right at the bottom.
Son of a gun. And the most awkward part is I still need to set up the SA key and the project and so on.
Right.
It would be nice if this is one of those things that was public, this binary. For now, I'd be happy to get it in my local thing, but can I temporarily stop sharing my screen so I can quickly set up a GitHub secret for SA key project and so on?
Sure.
I need the key, right? I need to be able to, that's my service account. I've got one. I just need to plug it in.
Right.
So that'll be fun. Do I have one? I've got one. Okay. Talk amongst yourselves.
All right. We will talk amongst ourselves.
I'll give you a topic. Rhode Island is neither Rhode Island. Okay, here we go. Stop share. Can you see my screen? You can't see my screen, right?
I cannot see your screen. All I see is my giant face, which is unfortunate.
Awkward. Don't worry. I'll be quick. Fret not. Oh, so we're going to set up. Oh man, the internet is it's so janky. I mean, all this is just a sea of environment variables and YAML files that
Mm-hmm.
make sense to something, but goodness knows why. Let's see here. Secrets. So I need to create a secret for Cloud Project. That's the other thing is, okay, so it's going to be, okay, that's fine for now. Project isn't a secret. It's the other bit that's a secret.
Right.
I say key. Let me think. Do. Wouldn't you just know it? I didn't note that service account. So I'm going to do that right now. I'll have to create a new one, which is okay. This is a separate project. It's not really related to my. So that should that be a Google Cloud project? Does it need to be for my container, for my Kubernetes app to see the container?
That is a good question. I think it has to be. I think it'll have to be the same project.
Oh, fun. Okay.
Well, I guess no. If the registry endpoint is public, it should be fine. Like, if anyone could do a Docker pull gcr/joshlong/mydumbpodcast dot whatever, then it's fine.
Yeah. Okay, so let me go to the container registry. Let's test that out. I think in a moment of frustration, I might have made it public earlier, but that was not my intent. I was hoping to have
all your code is public, so there's no real issue.
Yeah, no reason.
As long as you're not putting, passwords or secrets or keys or something into your images.
Me? Never.
Right.
Oh, okay. Well, how do I tell if that's public?
I don't know. I can't see a screen.
Right, I'm going to share my screen and we'll try this again.
Yeah, as long as you stop sharing when you create the actual secret, so we don't see the key.
Oh, let me create the secret first. Then let me get that over with before we fiddle with GCR. I'm assuming for now I need to do the same project, so yeah, I'll create the IAM and things are.
And I think you can even just give it only write access to the Google Container Registry, right?
Yeah, service agent maybe.
Or is it? Hang on, let me think. I think for GCR access, you just need to give object storage permissions. Is that right?
I mean, there's a Kubernetes, there's a container registry. There's a container registry service agent permission.
I guess.
Seems reasonable. I'll just give the most minimally scoped thing here. Add. So I got to create a new service account. Okay. And it's I've already got a service account. Never mind. So I can create a new key. Create a new key. JSON. Downloading it. You still can't see my screen. Haha.
Still can't see your screen.
Not another boo-boo. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm just reading the Google Docs, and it says the table below explains permissions and roles required for container registry actions. And to be able to do a push, read, and write, you need a bunch of storage bucket things. And so it says give it roles/storage admin.
Storage admin?
Yeah.
pretty sure I have that, but we'll find out in a second. Hold on, I've got too many things on the stack here, so I'm
Right.
gonna remember to write this down. Gcloud is a key. Honestly, I think I just lost. Oh, there we go. Okay, so gcloud as a key. Okay? Right, that's the right repository. I don't think I need anything else. I need to now share my screen. Okay. Share screen.
Share screen.
Okay.
All right. That looks right.
Yeah, so gcloud project and gcloud SA key. Here's my, which one am I doing? Okay, it's over here. So I need to set the environment variables. We're having fun. This is fun, friends.
So much fun.
So much fun, really. Just can't take it. Okay, so env. We'll just, there's only one here, so it doesn't really need to be separate. Okay. I feel like that'll get me there. So, okay, so now I've got gcloud project and SA key.
Mm-hmm.
And now when I run this build, it's gonna test that Java and the native image builder are there. It's gonna build the native image. It's gonna chmod the resulting binary. It's gonna create a release. It's gonna upload the release. It's also gonna, and that's gonna be the release for the individual binary, but it's also going to connect to Google Cloud using gcloud SA key and gcloud project. And then once it's done that, it's gonna connect and authenticate for Docker.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's going to do that. And then finally, I need to do a Docker tag thing, right?
Yeah, you need to do like a Docker build and push, which I assume GitHub has an action for.
If it does, I don't know about it. That's okay, because I do it a million times for my other stuff.
Oh, as long as you got it somewhere, you can just copy and paste.
Copy and paste till glory. Build, here we go. Just take all that. And at this point, I've somehow managed to, I'm going to do something terrible here. I'm going to rename this deploy, since it's become effectively that directory. Okay, and then in the release local, okay, so this is build Docker container. Okay, well, so so I don't need to run it, right? That's not what we're trying to do anymore.
Right.
We're trying to deploy it as a container. So once I've done that, I've got to get the image ID, delete it if it already exists. Why would I do that? No, I don't want to delete it anymore. It's fine. And then I want to build it. Do I want to do that anymore? No, I've already done that.
You've already done that.
Don't need this. And then there's tag and push.
Yeah.
That's not painful. Nobody's crying. You're crying.
Not at all. Now, the other thing is, do you feel like you're ever going to want it versioned?
Of what? My container?
Yeah. Because right now you're just,
Yeah.
I guess, dealing with latest. So maybe we don't want to do it right now, but at some point you probably want to use like maybe the git commit SHA or something that's easily collectible from like inside of GitHub Actions.
What is it? I think it's GitHub SHA, but we'll check. GitHub Actions. Variable. No. There we go. SHA. Yeah, GitHub SHA.
Right. But you'll also probably want to tag it as latest.
Oh,
Um,
how would I do that?
so like just run the tag twice.
Like that?
Yep, and then run the push twice.
You mean specifying the URL?
Specifying the tag, yeah.
Oh, I see.
So where you've done no, you've already got the first Docker push down there. So you just need to add the tag at the end. So one for GitHub SHA and one for latest.
Like that?
Yep.
Be explicit about it.
Yeah.
It seems too good to be true. I don't trust it at all. There's no way this is going to work. Why do I have this file here? I don't need that anymore, do I? No, but I would have needed that for this. That's just
Right.
part of the test. Put that down here. Okay, so that seems.
Yeah, that seems reasonable. Now let's look at the use your word, Paul, the Docker file again, just to make sure we haven't hard coded anything we'll regret.
Oh, we have. Oh.
Target GAC. So that should now be target config client.
Okay.
But I think we still want /GAC as the file it gets created to. Creating the directory config, which is fine.
Okay. Is that right? Okay.
Yeah, I think that's right.
And then release. Let me make clear that this is like MISC. This is not actually part of the workflow. It's just my local stuff, so I don't have to remember it each time. Out of the way, please. And then build. So build is not really build anymore. We don't actually need this. This isn't doing anything useful.
So is it not creating the release?
Build doesn't do that. That's in the GitHub action, the actual Maven command there.
Okay, cool. Yeah, you're right.
So if I do, here it is, Maven.
Yeah.
Blah. So come on. Ha! Why? Okay, can you imagine what life would be like if this wasn't a problem we dealt with on purpose? We did this for ourselves.
We did. But it could be worse. You could be doing this with like JSON or XML.
Things that are space agnostic, I would be fine. I'd be happy. See data all the way. I know what I'm doing.
All right, that's valid.
Yeah, that's the other point. It's valid. You have schema.
Yeah. I see what you did there.
Don't put me in the position of defending XML. It's 2020. I'm not ready for that. But I'm so close. I don't want to be an apologist for XML. It's terrible.
All right. So now we want to push this app up now, right? Just do a git push and magic should happen. We can watch the actions and see what happens.
Yeah.
I mean, we're using GitHub Actions and we wrote them, so it's going to fail 10 times before we get it right. So we should just get it over and done with.
There's like dozens of unrelated changes. It's YOLO.
That's the best thing about personal projects is you can just do whatever you feel like at the time, not worry about convention and good practice. And
I mean, it's very charitable of you to assume that that's how I behave only on my personal project. Let's see. Okay. Well, Jesus, take the wheel. It's left my machine and gone to the cloud.
GitHub, take the wheel.
We gotta OH that. Yeah, that was fine. I'm waiting for. Let me see. GitHub. Well, I don't even remember where we kept it. Let's see here. This thing? No. No. No.
It was with your config service, right?
We're looking at for the action, right? This one.
Oh.
What? Oh, I just get pushed. I didn't release it. Of course not. Of course not. Because misc release. What? Oh, we have to give it a version. Oh, so good. So what's the latest version? 1.06. So V 1.07.
Oh wow, you're pushing in a version, so we could actually capture the tag name and use that to tag the.
Oh yeah.
To tag the image, the container, and that way we're not using the SHA.
Yeah.
That's for another time.
We could get the tag name? Okay, let's do that.
Yeah, so because you just created a tag version 1.07, so therefore you can use that as the container image tag if you can get that data all the way through the actions.
Okay, I like that.
Now, don't you also need to push the config client itself as well?
Isn't that what we just did?
That's what we just did? Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. We just did that, and then the actual actions themselves being run through the Josh Long GitHub Actions, which we didn't change. Okay, yeah. I know what we're doing.
Even I'm lost, and
I'm used to my actions being in the same repo as my code, so I'm just.
Also, this is a generic utility.
Yeah.
That I'd expect, like it's a command line to read through this native code, the config server, and I figure I can use it in GitHub Actions. I can use it in initializing my config maps. There's got to be utilities for this.
Right. Absolutely.
So, but the thing that we're working on mostly is inside the Bootiful Podcast organization, which this is not. So we're just trying to deploy this and the container with it, right? Yeah. I used to use Travis CI all the time, and the one thing I liked about it was you could just click the little button; it would follow the logs.
Right. I feel like sometimes GitHub Actions seems to follow the logs properly, and sometimes they don't.
It never does. I have to follow.
I've had it sometimes, but I've never figured out the magic way to make it always.
Yeah. I don't need if you can invite me to screen share with you when it is
right.
Just so I can see it, just so I can feel like it worked for somebody. Let's see. Don't get me wrong. I like GitHub Actions. I don't mean to besmirch something that is very well. But although I'm a little, those CADs, they finally caught on to me. I was using their scheduled jobs thing to actually do what essentially would be cron jobs that have no merit for code or anything. They're just data analysis projects that I was running in GitHub Actions, and they finally caught on to my just using their services to run stuff periodically, because it actually was talking to a database and updating a static site, and doing all this stuff on GitHub and GitHub pages and all that, but it wasn't about continuously testing or anything like that, right? So they finally said, oh, if you haven't changed the source code for the repository that it contains the scheduled GitHub action, we're going to stop running it and force you to do something. So I was like, for 3 days, I noticed my job hadn't been running. They're like, what's going on? And I had to go there and just add one space, do a git push and stuff. Find again. Like, yeah.
I wonder if it would be enough to just do a
cron
amend and force push over itself. I guess you do need a change.
Something. Yeah, I mean, I can have a little file and just echo the date every day.
Right.
That and they don't even care. It's 60 days or something like that. So I would have to run this once every 2 months in order to get free hosting for my cron jobs.
Right. So what it should do then is at the end of the run, it should do echo the date and then push that up, and that way it's self-fulfilling.
Those
last success date.
Right. Very nice. Oh, that's so funny. They just started doing this. I've been using their services for a long time, and I just noticed this now. But that's okay. they're great. I can't believe what they let us do for free on GitHub Actions. It's pretty great. I used to be
great.
I used to be a huge Jenkins user, and now I wouldn't know how to set up a Jenkins job to save my life, because for the last like 6 years I've been using Travis, and then middle of last year, I started using GitHub Actions. And
Hash brown blessed.
yeah, I really love it. I love GitHub Actions. It's free. I don't understand how it's free. I would pay for it. I'd pay for other GitHub. I pay for GitHub. I actually have a GitHub orgs that I pay for, right? And I pay for, other things. So if they told me I had to pay some, whatever the pittance is that I pay for GitHub itself, I wouldn't object. They've more than earned it.
Yeah. But you're also quite influential with people that would pay GitHub lots of money.
Oh,
because you're a developer and you're the new kingmaker, right?
So if Grady's to be believed, then yeah. No, is that right? Yes. Who wrote that book? Monk Chips, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was Grady.
Kingmaker. Yeah, Stephen O'Grady. Yeah, Grady. Yeah, I got it right. Right in the first try. That's awesome. I almost never get that stuff right. Just look at my code. Okay, so it built the native image. Oh, failed somewhere. Glad it failed right at the end after 6 minutes. Look at all these logs. I should really learn how to pipe out to DevNull. I've only been using Unix for 20 plus years.
Well, you know what? To be fair, like these apps should see that you're not using an interactive shell, and they should not give you progress bars.
Yeah.
Because that's the problem, is it's trying to give you a progress bar.
Whoop. Okay. Why?
I mean, this is probably a really dumb question, but did we double check that your app compiled after we added that if file exists?
No, we didn't. Son of a. Okay, hold on. So,
like, I don't want to make accusations about you writing more bugs than code, but at the same time,
it's yeah. Okay, so that'll work.
And now we can watch your laptop spend 6 minutes compiling an app, as opposed to watching GitHub Actions do it.
That actually doesn't explain the error that we saw in GitHub Actions, if I'm honest.
Okay.
Failed to execute this. Why would you be having trouble with that? Net.java. I don't get it. Repackage on.
Dude, it was just probably a intermittent HTTP error.
I think so too, because it's like this is.
Yeah, can you it should be a whoa.
Right.
Whoa.
JK. So yeah. Okay.
All right. So you can just there should be a squiggle rerun jobs button at the top. Should we just hit that?
Already did.
Good job.
Oh yeah. Well, this is again. I'm so far removed from. It's satisfying once this all works. Now I can see why this is a full-time job, just to build all this infrastructure. Somebody's got to do this, and you need somebody smart like yourself who's got development skills, but also has a mind for tying together the internet.
Right, but also has the ability to wade through the tedium.
It's just big. It's not tedium. It's just my mind wants to focus on my app and the one thing it's working on.
Well, I mean, the tedium to me is like what we're doing right now. Oh, it didn't work because was it something I did? Was it something the internet did? Like, what the hell's going on?
There's so many moving parts that are beyond my control, right? It's just, somebody needs to give me the illusion of a stable foundation on which to build software.
Right.
And if I'm the person that has to provide that illusion for myself, then it's a vicious cycle, right? I know what janky bash the system is based on.
Right.
How can I ever build something on top of it?
Well, the good news is the code compiled locally, so you didn't introduce a bug. Well, you didn't introduce a compile time bug.
In that there are no tests, we can't say for sure. All we know for sure is that we didn't not.
Look, if there's one thing I've learned over the last few months is the absence of tests means positive results every time.
Right, yeah, no. It works 80% of the time, 100% of the time.
I mean, it's only failing because the tests say it's failing.
Right, exactly. It's like if you don't test, then there's less cases. Makes perfect sense. Let's see. I mean, I really want this to work. Why are we doing this again? Oh, we're doing this so that we can actually get back my init container. Okay.
Yeah.
This is why do you use Mac OS stickies?
I don't use Mac OS.
Oh, well, okay. Do you use like some sort of stickies thing? Like a Post-it note?
Oh, I mean, I guess like sort of.
I never used it before because there was never like I've realized that my mind is just a really poor computer. I don't have the ability to do a bunch of things on the stack. So as I start working through operational minded stuff like Kubernetes and all this stuff, I end up down these rabbit holes shaving yaks, and it just seems to be weeks and weeks of yaks. So it's gotten to the point where now I start up stickies and I keep stickies for myself so I can remember what exactly I was trying to do, so I can work my way back to the main road, right? Sometimes you get a day off in the weeds, Like all I wanted was to have a production versus development bifurcation in my build. And that led to this whole, wouldn't it be nice if config could come from somewhere? Wouldn't it be nice to have a native image? Wouldn't it have a Docker image? Wouldn't it be nice to have that inside of config maps? It's like, I mean, if it works, it'll be sweet. So sweet. But statistically, what are the odds it's going to work? Or that it should work? That's the
23.84%.
That sounds about right. I like them odds.
Nothing quite like watching some mysterious machine in the cloud compiling.
Right.
And you have no idea how much resources it has. Something that takes 3 minutes locally may take 15 minutes.
Right.
Or it might take 1 minute.
Actually, to be fair, GitHub Actions, they're pretty beefy. The other thing is that as soon as I do a git commit and a git push, I see it starts spinning up the job, the workflow immediately. Yeah. With Travis, there's always a couple of things where it was like, I'm thinking maybe I'll get to it. Somebody has to fax me a request and I'll get on it, tomorrow. No. That's the other thing is GitHub just deprecated the way you contribute environment variables. So now all these actions that I'm using that also depend on that are being given warnings. It's not my code, it's Google Cloud action.
Dude, is this going to work?
Weird.
It couldn't have worked.
Yeah.
It's literally impossible. I refuse to believe it.
It worked. It's only 5 minutes. Okay, so how do we go to Docker? We go to Google Container Registry, right?
Right.
So
if this worked, you don't have to eat that hat that you promised you were going to eat.
Oh, happy, happy, joy, joy, happy, happy, joy, joy. Where do I go? Let's see.
Is it under
here?
Kubernetes engine? Where do you see your GHCR?
That is.
Oh, there it is.
No, that's the wrong project and the wrong account. Ow.
Amateur hour at the Long household.
Really? There we go. Nope, that's not right either. How is that right? No, that's not right. It would be config client, right? Okay,
Yeah.
so what did I do?
Well, hang on. Did we fix the? We did fix the label.
What do you mean?
I'm just trying to think when we updated the script. You changed that app name variable, right? Because that was what was controlling the name of the image.
No. Let me check. I didn't change it. I mean, it sounds like what you're saying vaguely. That's config client.
Okay, so you did that.
Yeah.
So can
Docker build.
we look in the GitHub logs, action logs, and look for the Docker build commands or the Docker whatever?
Upload, no. Setup, no.
Wait, so you did the run gcloud
Where's the
quiet? Wait, where did we even run the push?
sir? Oh no, don't tell me. Okay. Sorry, I forgot to call the script.
Oh.
MG.
I knew it was too good to be true.
Okay. No, it's called deploy, called build-docker.sh. Does that seem right?
Yes. I don't know anymore.
It's all running together. Deploy, build, Docker. Yeah, okay, that way that won't bite me. I'd hate for this thing to get six minutes. It's like, oh, we forgot about that.
Now,
okay.
Does GitHub Actions isn't capable of using like the Maven cache to speed up builds and stuff, is it?
It does.
It does, but it's still not. I guess it still doesn't speed up the actual compilation, which is the.
Well, and I didn't set up the Maven cache for this. Let me see.
Oh, okay.
I can do that.
Man, maybe don't change anything else.
Oh, you think there's risk in that? Hold on. Where's my repository? I just need a repository. GitHub. Okay. Actions. No, I don't. I need a repository that has it. I'm pretty sure. Oh, you know what? Bootiful Podcast. API v2. Setup JDK. No. API. Build. Cache. See, I forgot to do this. And where does that go? That goes after setup Java 14 or after setup Java. So, I mean, what could it hurt? Let's see.
Literally, what could go wrong?
What could be worse? Commit, cache, and build. Okay, git push. That's not going to actually trigger the build, but I do want to send it along. And then we want to do bin. No, we want to do deploy, misc, release. Oh yeah, while we're here, since we're being ambitious and it takes a year to cycle, do we want to use the tag? Is that the idea? I can do that for the version.
So you're getting that version, and that's going into the action as an input.
Yeah.
And then. Wait, why does it look so hard?
It does look really, really painful.
Are you serial? I mean, I guess it makes sense. You've got to regex out some stuff, but oh my God.
Well, okay. You know, commit the atrocities while we're young. What? Infernal YAML. Get the tag version ID. I don't need that. Echo set output. This is the. Okay, sure. Couldn't I just do that?
You could just do that command as part of the script, couldn't you?
Right, but I can now have it as an environment variable.
Yeah.
For the rest of the program instead of having to repeat it.
Yeah.
So now down here, where do I need it? I need it in.
We're doing the Docker tags and the Docker build.
So build. That's this business. Okay. And then I need to change this thing to care about tag version equals 1.
Well, hang on. Just use the environment variable. Don't make it more difficult.
Oh, I forgot it's going to be visible there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Ow. Almost there. No, not quite though. We want this. So we don't want latest. We want.
You just want to replace GitHub SHA with the version. So you still want latest, but you also want the tag version.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can't sleep at night without the curly brackets around my.
I'm all for that.
Yeah.
I think that'll be good. And then what I would do is just as insurance, scroll right back up, scroll right up to the top.
Please.
And do under app name, do tag version equals. And then do dollar open curly bracket, tag version, : dash. Yeah, you got it. And then, I don't know, latest.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Latest. I don't know. Okay. So. Oh, actually.
The other thing I guess we could do is test for the presence of tag version and only do those 2 commands if it exists.
Okay, so if.
No. So comment out the tag version.
Yes. But we want to see if it equals to quote.
No, you want to do if -n has content or -z is empty. So that way you don't need the equal.
Oh, is that no longer the invoke way to do it? So am I doing the evaluation or am I doing the test inside the double brackets?
I always do the double brackets.
Yeah, it feels better, but it's not always. I even tweeted about this the other day. I realized, my goodness, I can't imagine how frustrating this would be for people who don't have a lot of experience with.
Right. And you want then after the semicolon.
Yeah.
And then I would actually bring this whole if statement right to the bottom, because you still want to build. It's just if you do the tag or not.
Right.
So like just like the very last lines, and then we'll move stuff into it.
Yeah.
Or there works, wherever. And then the 2 tag version commands you'll want to put inside of that in the correct order.
Okay. Does that seem reasonable?
Hang on, that should be a -n. Sorry, not a dash Z.
N as in.
Yeah, N as in Nelly.
Okay.
Right, and so basically that's if tag version is set that has contents, dash Z would be if it's not set. The other thing is, just to be a good practitioner, you should put curly braces in the tag version, in the dash N line.
Oh, right. Yeah. Thank you. See, this stuff keeps me up at night. Okay, that looks like I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Sort of. It's something. Okay, ready? I'm not. Git status, git commit, git push, and deploy misc release. Please work. Huh? Oh, I forgot to pass the tag. We already the script got it. Okay, of course not. I need to provide the tag, the version, the release tag. So I guess I just need to provide. It'd be nice if I didn't have to automatically. It'd be nice if I didn't have to manually increment this each time.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Gotta be a way.
I mean, I guess you could. What happened if you use this? What happened if you use the same version number?
It gives me a warning saying this already exists.
But does it do it anyway, or does it?
No, I don't think so. I can try 1.07. Oh yeah. 1.07 fatal.
What's the? Show me your release.sh code.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you could do a dash F.
Dash F where? Oh, on force? Yeah, okay. YOLO mode. Okay. Hi-ya. So what did we just hope is going to happen? We're hoping that it'll create the Docker image. We're hoping that it'll create 2 tags in the Docker image.
Right.
Hoping that that Docker image will reflect the tag that was just given. So we should see v1.08. Is that about right? In my container registry. So that's the journey after 5 years or something.
Yeah. Boy, we set out to do a bunch of Kubernetes stuff, and how did that work out?
Well, I mean, this is the bread and butter of the platform.
I mean, we are doing Kubernetes stuff. We're just not doing it like we're doing the preparation stuff, like all the plumbing that no one likes to talk about.
It's like when Julia Child, pre-prepares the chicken and the butter and all this stuff before the episode, right? You don't see all that hard work that goes into it, but there's still a ton of stuff that's required for setup.
Mm-hmm.
Oh well. Okay. While that's spinning up, let me make sure we're logging out the output here. We'll watch this like a football game.
Yeah. Hey, so that I don't surprise you later, maybe get rid of that dash F.
So that you what? This
one?
Well,
I'm just thinking about that dash F, and you'll probably end up at some point force pushing a version that you didn't mean to.
Okay.
But I feel like if you get that error, you could always just run the git push manually after.
Yeah, it's fine. I'm not worried about it. This code is so trivial. Okay, so that's running in the background. That'll take a year.
Right.
What was the goal?
So the goal was to create an init container and utilize.
Okay, so we go back. And that was for we wanted to deploy a container in the deployment build, right? No, where am I going to use that actually?
So that's going to be in the Python apps deployment.yaml.
Okay. So I need to get that deployed is what you're trying to say. that has to actually, it's not deployed yet, so it's not going to work.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, it is deployed. It's just that because I've moved over to this new configuration scheme, it's not going to work. I have to,
Right.
And for that matter, I don't think my Postgres and my RabbitMQ are working right now per my original deployment. Because I commented this out. So what I need to do is in this thing, and this is the deployment thing, I am incepting. I discover the mode, right?
Right.
The mode is either development by default. If the event name is a creation, in which case it's like a tag, then the mode becomes production, right?
Mm-hmm.
I log that out to the environment so that I can see it, and then I echo it out as well. So now everything after that can see that. And then there's this little thing called env. What the heck does that do? Oh, this is my, I should create an action. I didn't want to go down the rabbit hole of creating an action. So I literally just, I wrote a little script to get the GitHub release for the latest version of the config client and to pull it down. But that's no longer going to work, is it? Because we are no longer naming it GAC. Is that true? So if I go back to this.
Well, hang on. Where are you running this?
This is the deployment for my podcast, right?
Oh yeah. Okay.
So I want the config from the config server available to my GitHub action, right? That was the original use case, and it only afterwards did it occur to me, even more valuably, it would be to have it somehow work as a config map for Kubernetes, right? Like it would solve some pain. But I still need it for my GitHub action. I want all my environment variables. I don't want to have to set up secrets and then set up the build.yaml.
Yeah. Well, the good thing is your GitHub workflow can now run the Docker image for GAC.
My GitHub workflow. Oh, yeah.
Right?
Okay.
Because you can just do a step and tell that step to use GAC and have it run the GAC command and put the file where you need it to go.
So how would I do that? I haven't really. Okay, so we can figure that out. But let's see if it didn't break, is what I'm trying to say. Before we change this, let's see if I still got everything working. And I haven't. I basically got this to the point where I was like, okay, it's the skeleton's there. Paul will fix it for me tomorrow. Mm-hmm. So here we are. So
now is this where we need to actually do the customize bit? Is that where we're getting to?
Yes. Yes, that's one of the places. Exactly. And you know why I want to use customize? For the DNS. Because for my DNS,
but
I've
also for the namespace, because you'll want to use a dev namespace and a prod namespace.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Okay, I've never done the namespace stuff, so I don't know what that looks like. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But like, for example, would it be possible to change the domain filter equals development versus production? Right? Like
and what we could do is whatever we key to be the development or production domain filter, we can also use to create the namespace.
Well, I've got the mode, right? Ideally, this domain filter would come from that environment.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Mode. Yeah. But yeah, totally. The same idea as.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's do that if you know how, and if you have the brain dump.
It's been a while since I've done customize, but I'm sure we can figure our way through it. How hard could it be?
I mean,
but like I want to make sure that this image ended up in the right place and we got the right file in our release 1.8.
Okay, I'm going to purge some tabs here. I'm getting lost. So we want that. We want this. Don't care about that. We care about this. Don't care about that. Don't need this. Don't need that. And don't need that. Don't need this. Okay. Workflows. Okay. Ow. Here we go. Customize. Okay, so goodbye. Goodbye. Okay, there's the 4 tabs in the whole world that I care about.
Oh, nice,
You can't
Scott
see it, of
Lowe.
course.
Now, you know Scott Lowe is one of our co-workers, right?
I did not. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
I should have just pinged him. He wrote this great blog, and I read it last night. I was
Dude,
like, this is.
his blog is so good. Like, I'm always finding stuff in his blog that helps me.
So good. He
And in
works
fact, at the very first job I had working here in the US for BioWare, this is probably in like 2010, I was having some problems with some networking gear, and I stumbled across his blog, and it helped me then. So literally, his blog has been helping me for 10 years.
wow. And he works at VMware.
And he works at VMware because he was at Heptio and came in through Heptio.
Oh my goodness. He's okay. I want to talk to this guy. Can we get him on this code show thing of ours?
You can do
That
what
would be
you
fun.
want. You're the boss.
No, yeah, right. I'm just the heckler. Oh no, that's Mark. See, I'm not even that. I can't. I'm just. I'm just happy to get some time with you so I can learn. And I could learn from him. Oh my goodness.
Absolutely.
Okay. And the nice thing is our team has a really deep bench. So once you become tired of me, then I can go bother Cora and so on. So we have. Who else?
Or when you hit something that requires someone with some actual knowledge and intelligence, you can go to Cora.
And who else could we go to?
I mean, Tiffany has good Kubernetes. Yeah.
She really rocks the Kubernetes. I gotta. Once you get tired of me, you can just tell me because I have other people I want to go talk to that are.
But now I feel I'm responsible because if I tire of you, I'm going to dump you on some poor unsuspecting soul like Cora or Tiffany.
She's watching it. No. Okay. Well, okay.
It's okay. No one's watching.
Yeah, thank goodness. Let's see. So customize. This tool looks great. The explanation he gave was great. Simple. So apparently you specify the resources and then you specify certain things that get overridden.
Yep.
Seems fine, The question, and he even had a multi-environment build thing like this one, overlays, dev, staging, prod, etc. But I don't know how you, are there just well-known keys like this, common labels, that automatically applies that label key value to every resource, right? But surely.
Well, no, I think in the overlays, he's using those values, I think.
Oh, are these just arbitrary keys and values?
I believe so. But we can probably... Oh, hang on. No, it's actually telling us that...
Where?
It did say something about the namespace and common labels. But I was assuming it was using them in the overlays, but maybe they are actual customized things. Yeah, the namespace and the common... Oh, okay, yeah, so
I thought I read... so I understood it last night, but or at least I thought I did. Like I said, I haven't had a chance to
this
try.
is cool, right? So name prefix will solve that problem you have with everything having the same name. Namespace will solve them being in different namespaces. And then common label is just if you want to have like an environment label. So that's cool. I dig this. And then so we would have two overlays, one for dev and one for prod, and you would overlay depending on what that mode environment variable was. And that would take care of almost everything apart from setting the DNS. We would need to figure out how to
select a particular, like an XPath query to update one thing.
Which I'm pretty sure Customize has some really rudimentary concept of like variables, and you can set a default and then set the overrides. But where's our action at? Did it complete?
Oh yeah, let's check. Can you give me 1 second while I check the news because my phone is.
Sure.
Did anything happen that?
There's not going to be any useful news for days, I don't think. It's going to drag on.
Yeah. I don't know. I just want to make sure I didn't miss anything. For those of you who don't know, it's an election cycle. Fox News has Biden at 264 and Trump at 214.
Well, that's a good set of numbers, depending on your perspective.
Yeah, well, for me, it's a great number.
Yes.
He needs 4 more. If he gets Nevada, then it's it.
Sweet.
According to that's pretty. I mean, for me, obviously other people have different perspectives, and I respect that. But
do you respect that? Like I'm at the point where it's very hard to respect that.
Yeah, I was trying to be.
I know. Anyway, let's. So it looks like that action completed.
Oh, did it work though? C'est ça la question. It's weird that my GitHub action is now bigger than some of my programs.
Right.
Let's. This potpourri of sadness and despair. Now so I remember why I didn't profile open.
Right.
Oh goodness, look up.
I guess we want to look at a couple of things. Probably see if we have a new image in the container registry.
Right, we can do that.
And then we also want to check if that container registry is set to public.
Wrong one. Honestly. It's too easy. This is almost too easy to create a Kubernetes cluster.
Right.
Oh, there it is. Config. Huzzah!
Huzzah! And does it have the right tags?
Latest NV 1.0. Oh,
dude,
yeah.
Dude.
Party on, dude.
I refuse to believe that worked.
Well,
despite all evidence to the contrary.
Right. Like if we run it and it installs WordPress, I'm going to be pissed. Right?
And then the other thing, just to verify, we should check the GitHub release still has the correct file name. Because remember, we thought maybe we changed the file name.
GitHub release.
From GAC to config.
And I should rename the project because it's no longer just GAC. Its scope has increased. It's going to be the unified configuration mechanism. No, that's the XKCD cartoon just waiting to happen.
Right.
But yeah, let me change this here quickly. Native config client, native Spring Cloud. No, config client CLI. Haha. Okay, so now releases GAC. Did I say GAC?
Yeah, so it's still GAC. Okay, cool. So it's in the container.
It's config client.
It's config client. And so when you do the release, you must rename it.
Yeah.
In the script.
Okay.
In the action or whatever.
Yeah, here we go.
Oh yeah, there you go. Asset path, config client, asset name, config client.
Yeah.
But do you want to? I guess you want it to have it match.
Yeah, the container should use the same thing as the.
Yeah.
Okay. And GAC was GitHub Actions Config Client.
Of course.
GAC.
But it's also such a cool sounding name.
I know. It's the sound my code makes. I imagine like when my code deploys to production, it's not like the cool Star Trek, warp speed engaging whatever. It's more like a blah,
Yeah.
Okay. Whatever. And then I want to do a release. Target. No. Deploy, build, doc. Nope. So I just want to be done with this thing here so bad. Release. Okay. No, I forgot the version. 1.0. Okay.
Now we
Flop
just made a breaking change, so shouldn't it go to 1.10? No, it should
What
go
was
to
the
2. We changed the name of the file.
Well, as the one user, I'll
I'll allow
right.
it.
Yeah, I'll allow it. As the one user who's only used it once. Okay, I didn't expect. And by the way, really, look at the Java code. It's so trivial as to be offensive, right? I almost hesitated to build it, but it solved my problem. And it was a native image, so it's really fast. I mean, they didn't have to bootstrap anything in my CI environments.
Yep.
I was expecting that to just be it, but it didn't turn into this whole thing.
Right.
And it's sophisticated now. So now I'm thinking I have to write a single test to cover all 20 lines of code. Okay. Okay, so that's fine, right? We're okay. But now that deployment is going to pull down the latest version of the release. That's going to fail until it says config client because, okay, so we can start changing that code now, right? So here's a config service. Don't need that. Goodbye to you. Config client. Wait, didn't I just hide this? What am I looking for here? Deployment. Come on. So for now, trying to make sure it all works so I can connect to RabbitMQ and connect to Postgres. So what did I say? env. I'm going to look for this. And notice that I had to do the chmod there. I'm not sure if I still need to, but
it's probably safe to just do it.
Yeah, no harm done. Okay, but it's otherwise the same query, certainly, right?
Yeah.
Oh, the repo has just changed. Config client CLI. That's a really generic name that's not going to come back to haunt me later.
Right.
Okay, it's still did I keep it the same org? Yeah, good. At least there's that. Okay, so that should work. If it worked yesterday, and you know, I wasn't exactly in my right mind last night, but you know.
Yeah, and at some point we should like cull a bunch of this out and just use the Docker image.
Totally. Oh, I want to. Let's just do one. I'll run with this.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm not going to redeploy GKE because that all that stuff for GKE itself happens before I get to the point where I care about configuration. That's right. I'm in GKE with the environment variables from my secrets. That has to, right? But everything after that. So I'm just logging out the mode. No need to do that here. No need for that. That's just debug. Setting up GCP, great. Setting up the Google Cloud connections, okay. G-Cloud quiet auth, configure Docker, config set project. I feel like that could be up there. It's fine. And a little surprised that this doesn't do it for me, but whatever. Deploy cluster if it doesn't exist. Okay, so I go to deploy BP GKE cluster, and that's where I get this nonsense. That's how you deploy a cluster today. Like, yeah. I was. There's probably an API I can use to do the same thing.
So do you want me to tell you how I deploy a cluster?
Do tell.
I say, hey, Kubernetes, give me a GKE cluster. And I have the Google Cloud operator installed. And so any Google Cloud resources I want, I just ask Kubernetes to go and make it happen for me.
Oh. So you incept Kubernetes from Kubernetes?
Yeah, so I start a one node GKE cluster and I install the operator on that. And then I use that operator to then manage the rest of my infrastructure.
So do you have like CRDs for all of Google Cloud's infrastructure?
Yep. So if you Google for Google config connector, it'll give you all the details you need. I wouldn't suggest rushing out and using it and changing to it.
We still have to get through customized. But look at that. Okay, this is definitely my next hill to die on.
And so I do stuff like if I want database for my app to talk to that's not running inside of Kubernetes, I can just say, hey, Google, give me a Cloud SQL, and Google will spin it up for me. And then I just use that instead of whatever running in Kubernetes.
That sounds fun. That sounds much better. Okay, so this is, what am I doing? I'm going to a command line, echo desktop to do. Okay, thank you for that. And did this still chugging along? So it's already at 5-minute marker though, so I'll give it another minute. Okay, that's so cool. That would be great to have CRD. So this is the other thing is I've been kind of like, it's interesting to see where the Kubernetes distribution gives you integrations or extension planes for the different platforms. And I haven't really done much work with Kubernetes besides Google Cloud, but I can clearly see that it's intended that people plug in their own storage class, right, for persistent volume. It's intended that the load balancer be plugged in by the platform, right? So, like, but what happens with PKS? Like, do we do all that for them?
We do all of that for them.
Do we provide a load balancer as well?
Yep.
Or does Kubernetes have a stock standard load balancer? That
Kubernetes does not have a stock standard load balancer. You have to provide something.
Okay. Because I know we have one, right? We have one for Cloud Foundry, for if nothing else. So.
Yeah. So depending on what you have, and it's not PKS anymore, it's TKG something, blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
But whatever, product names. I believe our default is to use the load balancer that comes with the VMware networking.
Okay.
Which is either NSXT or Antrea. And then I think if you don't have that, it's fairly easy to set up Metal LB as a alternative.
And what do we do for storage? Is there like a persistent storage class thing?
Yeah, again, our default is we use the VMware persistent storage class.
Okay.
Yeah. So and then the other thing is because it can install in other clouds, like if it's in Amazon, it just uses the Amazon ones. If it's in Google, it just uses the Google ones.
Right. Okay. So you get
so it's infrastructure dependent. Same with load balancing. If you're in Google, you just use the Google load balancers. If you're in Amazon, you just use the Amazon load balancers.
But of course, you're not dealing with that in your app code. You're just dealing with it in the config files, and even there, I noticed that it's amazing how verbose Kubernetes can be in some places, but so genius in others. So, like for example, if I make a persistent volume claim, I gather from the original design that the idea was that you would write out both the persistent volume definition and the claim for it.
Right. Yeah.
Now it's just I guess there's a controller there that's smart enough to say, oh, you're trying to do a persistent volume claim. You're on GKE. We'll flesh it out for you. We'll give you one.
Exactly.
And that's cool. But I just wondered how that works for, like, if I just took stock standard Apache 2 licensed Kubernetes right now and just installed it, on a Raspberry Pi cluster.
Yep.
How would I teach it about?
As long as you have a storage class of type default, just doing a volume claim will just work. So if you're running it on, like locally, I guess you could use. There's a couple of options for doing like host path type stuff. Rancher has a storage driver that you can kind of just run on anything and use as your default storage class. And that's what Kind uses. So if you use Kind, which is Kubernetes in Docker, it uses the Rancher storage driver, which is CSI, Container Storage Interface, I think.
Okay. Wow. So that just talks to like any old SMB or NFS or.
Well, so the Rancher one just talks to the like local disk on the local host.
Okay.
But the CSI, there are CSIs for SMB, for NFS, for iSCSI, for all your SAN providers.
Cluster.
And then obviously for Google Block Storage, Amazon EBS, blah blah blah.
From CSI. Oh, so I can actually mount a Google Cloud storage from my local host cluster, my Raspberry Pi cluster.
No, sorry. Yeah, no, I was just saying the CSI is like the interface to that.
Right.
And so on
But do I
your
need to be
Raspberry
running?
Pi, you would just
Yeah.
use the basic Rancher one that just uses local disk, or
But
something akin to it.
couldn't I run? Do I need to be running inside of Google Cloud to be able to write to Google Cloud Storage?
Yeah, you do, because you need to be able to actually mount the storage device to the local machine,
Oh,
which you wouldn't
and
be
that's
able
not
to do.
possible. Oh, okay. Awkward.
Yeah. Now,
Okay.
if they had like an NFS option, you could probably like figure your way through it on NFS, but that would be gross and ugly, and you should
Is there a Fuse
rethink your
FS?
poor life choices.
Is there a Fuse FS CSI?
I would
So
bet there is.
I could mount Gmail as a persistent volume,
Yeah, you probably could.
or Dropbox or whatever.
Right. And that's how, at the start of this, I mentioned that HashiCorp Vault had a storage driver. So they use the CSI interface to create a storage driver for HashiCorp Vault.
That's so cool. HashiCorp, they're really crushing it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I lost the plot again.
Okay, so up ran, we got to 1.09. So your release, the file in the release should now be config client, which it is.
Right, there it is.
And so now your other script that you were just looking at should work.
Right, so where's my build? Build here. It goes into this thing where it's going to deploy the cluster. That's just a really painful. It works, and I'm not going to touch it. So
Yep.
And then, but importantly, it's in a function, and I only call the function if the cluster doesn't already exist. So impotent in a sort of way. And then I get the credentials. Then I deploy Spring Cloud config server. This is where I do that hackety thing where I actually go get the config server code. And then I run the deploy script, which in turn pulls down the container that's already in GCR. Now that I've got the config server, I can then use it to source the environment variables for the rest of my build, right? So I install GAC, which is, that script is now called config client CLI. That's this thing here.
Mm-hmm.
And what does that do? That in turn uses this goofy curl call to get the latest release, gives me the release of the asset that I want.
Yep.
I then download it, schmod it, move it to the bin directory, which has been added to my path. Okay, so I'm back here.
Right. And now, so what calls it? So I guess you probably just want to do like a search and replace for GAC for config client, right? I don't know how many times you're calling it.
Once, because it sets up the environment for everything. So I just did it right now. I fixed that. Here, so I do config client, and that in turn needs my configuration server username, configuration server password. Deployment is the name of the app. The mode is development. That's the profile.
Yep.
It's talking to this thing here, and I'm telling it to write out the file to GitHub env.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally I can get to the fun stuff, which is Postgres, RabbitMQ, and external DNS. So
right.
That part I haven't, it works, but I'm sure it's failing because it doesn't have valid credentials.
And these are where now we need to start injecting the customized bits into the workflow.
Yes, but I also want to quickly make sure that I put this in the GitHub configuration project. So let's do that live here.
Gotcha. Yes.
So configuration, these are all test development credentials. So I hope people will appreciate that that'll change later. Okay, so here, admin, no, BP, PSQL, okay. And then this will be.
Here's a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Is the secret server capable of using GitHub secrets instead of files in the repo?
You mean Spring Cloud config server?
Yeah.
No, but again, you can do encryption. I can encrypt a string value and assign the encrypted value, and I can set up a key in the Spring Cloud config server. So the Spring Cloud config server, the files are not at rest unencrypted. I'm just doing it right now to prove it.
Yeah.
But the files will be at rest unencrypted, so they get communicated over the wire. They're decrypted in memory, and they're given to the client encrypted, right?
Gotcha. Yep.
And the client also has to have a key, right? Okay, so for now, right now I'm just using this. I'm using security through obscurity, which is irrelevant. It's a joke, but it's a private repository. So just because we're recorded,
right?
This will change later. Okay, BP Postgres
username, BP process password, and then do you need to set the password? I guess we don't, do we? Because the host name, but the host name is always going to be the same.
Yes, yeah, app name, thanks to DNS and the cluster.
Right.
Okay. What other things do I need there? So that's Postgres. Go back to build. Then RabbitMQ. What does RabbitMQ need? RabbitMQ. Actually, you know what I could do? I could just go up here and see what I commented out. So BP RabbitMQ username. And this could be what? This could be BP RMQ. And this could be, whatever, doesn't matter, as long as it's the same for everybody. Okay. I guess that's it. That'll get me. So if I go down here now to RabbitMQ, what does it look for? It's looking for BP username and so on. So I got to make sure it fails. I'm going to not give them a default value anymore. Because I want this to I want to be able to not connect if it doesn't use the right thing. Okay, so there we go. Here I'm deleting the config maps. Yes or no? Should I be doing that? Why not?
Let me think.
I'll delete the service.
I think we need to delete the config map because we're running kubectl create on the new config map, right? Or did you change that to do an apply?
I did this one, right?
Right, so we're doing an apply and apply. I don't think you need to delete them.
I don't.
Do you want this to be idempotent, or this is only?
Yeah, I want to guarantee that.
If you want to be idempotent, you probably shouldn't be doing a delete, because that means every time you run it, it's going to delete it and create a new one, and that might cause you weird problems.
Okay, that's fine. Then I do it like that. So secrets. Okay.
Okay, so we're doing string data for that, so we don't need to worry about doing a base 64 code.
All right. It would be nice, by the way, if we figure out customize next, to figure out how to, instead of having to do these dynamic string-based kubectl applies, it'd just be nice to have a YAML file that has default values for dev and particular values from secrets for production,
Yep.
That way I could actually do apply.
Well, I mean, you could actually create one big secret, because they've all got different strings anyway.
For the
no, actually, you're better off. We've already got it separating them, so we should stick to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess customize would take care of that. Yeah, so ideally these scripts, the secrets, we could move into customize rather than having the weird bashy EOF.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're right. Yep.
And then the final trick is DNS. This is the root domain. The root subdomain is either the BP mode or that. So let's assume it's development by default. So it's development.bootifulpodcast.online or production.bootifulpodcast.online.
Yep.
There's no name.
And then you're lowercasing it, which is good.
Yeah. Lowercasing the zone and then checking the Google Cloud domains to make sure I haven't already got the zone. And if I don't have it, if it's there, great. If it's not, I then create it. And then there's this reminder to myself, which I'll never see. And this has to be a little bit, I need to script Gandhi.net, I guess, to make it aware of the new NS records. Haven't figured out how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And then what am I doing? This is just so I can see what's happening. And then this is finally kubectl apply for the DNS. This we want to also customize with customize. Right. But for now, let's just see if it all works end to end. Looks fine. Okay. So I'm going to delete everything except for the cluster itself because I want to see that it all starts from 0 correctly. So that'll be okay, right? Okay, so which one am I? I'm deleting the deployments, right? So deployment.
Okay. Now here's where you could use K9S and like delete through them all real quick.
Okay. Lead the way is here.
So like literally, so those are pods. So we want to look at our deployments. How do we get to that?
0? No, that's it. This is so cool though.
Hit help. Hit question mark.
Question mark. Oh yeah. Okay.
How do we look for deployments versus pods? Now at the bottom it has pod and help. I don't know how you get to those.
I can't click on it. I can't tab around.
Okay. Hit escape. Can you tab to pod and hit enter?
Yeah.
No. Oh, what just happened?
I tabbed to a pod. I went up and down with the arrow.
Yeah, I mean, like, see at the bottom, there's that yellow pod.
Oh no, it doesn't tab do anything.
Oh, I thought this was going to be easier, but it's not going to be easier because we don't know all the keys.
I mean, I want to know the keys.
All right, so.
Oh, no, that's the same as before. Why is it green? That's interesting.
I don't know. Press 0.
There we go. Ooh, that's nice.
Press 1. Oh, I see. That's your namespaces. So now, well, like, how do you say show me deployments instead of pods? Because like you'd want to see services, you'd want to see pods, you'd want to see deployments.
What does S do? Wow, what did I just do?
You got a shell inside the container.
Great. Okay, that's like that.
Yeah.
To borrow from Family Guy, the Beyond section at Bed Bath & Beyond.
Can you hit backspace or something to go back to pods? Nope.
No.
Because now you're in. Oh, what did you just do to go from pods to containers?
I'm escape.
And if you do escape again?
Nope. It's like.
All right. You know what? Quit out. Let's do it the old-fashioned way.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So for I in.
No, we don't even have to do that. Do a kubectl delete deployments -- all.
You can do that?
Of course.
-- all like that?
With a space, obviously.
Oh, okay. Yeah, like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
then do the same for services. Well, you'd think the same for services, but we have that Kubernetes service, and so I guess we'll see what happens. It'll probably recreate itself, won't it?
Yeah, I've done this before, as
Right.
you can tell. It's like stupid mistakes you shouldn't make. I made them all
Right.
first day.
And then you'll want to do the same for config maps and secrets, right?
I guess I'll just open up another shell. Okay, delete config maps -- all. Huh?
Do we not have any config maps? We probably don't.
No, secrets.
And then what about, oh no, we got rid of the default token. Hopefully it fixes that. And now do what else might we have? PVC. Do we have PVCs?
Oh.
Our old friends.
Yeah, do I? I don't think I get PVCs.
Nope. Okay. I think we're clean.
It doesn't have a resource type, PVCs. PVC? It's just PVC, right?
Yeah, it's just PVC. Yeah, and there aren't any, so we're all good. Cool.
Okay. Well, I think well, so what happens if the token is gone? I can still talk to it. Clearly, it's okay.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll recreate it.
Oh, okay. And there's the Kubernetes IP, the API. It's up and running. So now, in theory, if I just do a git push, that'll rebuild everything for me, and I can then connect with I need an app to connect to it so we can deploy. We'll have to get one more app working with this new scheme.
Well, we'll just want to make sure. Let's just make sure all the bits pop up before we worry about the app.
Oh, sure. Yeah, let's do it. So git status.
Yeah, I need to wrap up pretty soon anyway. So I think once we confirm this works.
Yep. Oh yeah, it's getting past. What is it? 5, 6 o'clock your time?
I mean, we've only been on this for 3 hours.
Oh well, it's been more fun it's the most fun I've had in at least a year. So thanks a lot.
Oh, I just noticed that Rex Roof had mentioned that he always makes a new namespace and it can just delete the whole namespace. Yes, and we'll actually let's actually do that. Yeah, did you push?
I did. Let's do it again. What can I do?
All right. Go to, where are you doing the kubectl apply?
Where aren't I? I'm in build.yaml in
So wherever the command is that you're running.
Okay. There's nobody like set it once, like the context or something? Okay.
We could actually set the context and then run it from in the context. So you would do kubectl create namespace, because obviously you need to make sure it exists, and then call it dollar BP mode.
Yeah.
Was it BP mode? Whatever the.
Yep.
Yeah, and that'll want to be lowercase.
Okay, clearly I need to make that. Where's my little scripty whoopty thingy?
But I think you can just do like, there's a bash thing to lowercase. It's like L case or.
Okay, that's so cool. Okay, so now I can take for granted the presence of a lowercase mode. So then I go down here. I do a k git namespaces. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the in Docker? You can do AQI, like to get the image name only.
Oh, I think you just do -- name.
Yes.
No. -o name.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Nice. Okay, so I can do k Get namespaces minus O name grep.
Well, actually,
Yes.
you don't even need to do that. What you could do is kubectl get namespace BP lowercase, and then do or kubectl create namespace, right? Because that first command will fail.
Right. Look at that.
And then if that fails, it'll then call the second one.
Oh, that's so good. Okay. So idempotency is my friend. Okay.
Right.
So now the context bit, that's the part I haven't mastered yet. I know it's out there.
Yeah, I can never remember it because I always use kubectx locally. So
switch context. July 7. Okay, kubectl. My mouse went all ape shit. What is going on? Hey, easy. Don't spaz. Okay. We're having fun here, Paul. This is what we call
we're having
fun.
so much fun.
So much fun, Paul.
So
no,
you're looking for kubectl config set context -- current -- namespace equals. What's the best way for me to get this to you?
Wait, kubectl. Say it again.
Hang on. Can I use? Yeah. I lost it. Kubectl config set context -- current, and then -- namespace.
Namespace.
-- namespace equals.
BP mode.
Yep.
Cool. Oh, this is awesome.
Lowercase. Yep.
Does that look right? So kubectl config set hyphen context with a dash space -- current space -- namespace BP mode lowercase.
Sure does.
Okay. Nope. What was I doing? So, okay. Is it worth trying it out or should I just let it rip?
I think at this point we can just YOLO it.
Okay, here we go. Git status, git commit, YOLO. Honestly, I still am a little salty that I have to have a commit message. You didn't have to have that with Subversion.
Well, there are a lot of things that you didn't have to have with Subversion.
Like sanity.
I mean, you could just have a empty, like a space or something, right?
I don't think so, but I'd have to type out like that, which would annoy me just as much. There's room in this world for nothingness.
Oh,
okay?
I see what you're saying. You used to be able to just do git push and it would work, and I think they changed it to be more explicit.
We have to do a git commit, right? You can't just do a git commit. Oh well, here I change this. Can I? No, I have to have a message.
Do you? Well, you do a git add first, and then git commit on that, right? Oh yeah, it'll open up a editor and make you put something in.
Yeah.
But you could probably do a -m and then like open quote space close quote.
Yeah, but you see, it just.
But then you do an alias, so you can just do like fucking git YOLO aliases to.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go, dude. Rex is all over this. He says use your date, so -m, and then date plus %s.
Oh yeah. There you go. Whoop. So great. That's a secret. I'm just gonna put that in my shell script I'm gonna put that in my dash profile, and it'll be the same date for the next 20 years. Who knows?
Yeah.
My uptime is. Okay, okay, where did I go? Deployment. Come on, Josh. Focus, man. It's because it feels, this all worked. You don't believe me, but it was glorious. I could publish a podcast end to end. Now everything's a tatters because I've got configuration on the mind.
Right.
Got to break a few eggs to make an omelet, they say, but this omelet didn't taste that good to begin with. I'm not sure it's worth the effort.
Yeah, it was not a great omelet.
No, it was really not. This is you'd send it back and ask for a refund. You might even use epithets. Oh, 3 minutes ago. That's a long. How long have we been?
Rex said that someone will read these Git messages in 10 years from now, and the numbers from the date plus S will create an unsolved mystery.
Bootstrap. Okay, why are you unhappy? And why am I logged in there? Okay, let's see here.
Unable to process file command env.
That's my shell
variable format development.
I suppose that's in the Bootstrap GitHub actions from, what is that?
That's GitHub workflows bpmode.sh.
Right.
Yeah, so where it's sourcing that file is failing.
Is it? It looks like it's unable to process an env.
Yeah.
Invalid variable format. Why?
So where is that env.sh coming from?
Well, this has been here forever. It's this thing here, right? That's the install config client CLI and resolve.
Right, but that's what it's complaining about.
Yeah. Invalid environment variable format development. Why would that be upsetting? It's that's a lowercase string that has to tie back to, where to go here? It's this nonsense right here. BP mode lowercase.
Yeah, so maybe we screwed something up there.
Oh, son of a gun. Okay. Echo. You have to do key and value when you write out to that GitHub env thing.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. This is where I wish. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We git commit say date and git push. Are you kidding me?
You got to put quotes around it or do the +%s. Yeah, you did it.
Winning. Oh, there we go. That's pretty great. The other thing I wish, not that I have any secrets or anything. Okay, I totally do. Okay, I've got a lot of passwords that are out there. But like, what I would love is just find some way to be able to delete previous action runs. Like I've got 82 runs before this went green. You know how depressing that is?
Yeah, I hear you. I guess you could like delete the entire repository and create it from scratch.
Oh well, I suppose that's one thing. I wonder if there's like how many runs before it went green Hall of Fame instead of GitHub's.
I bet there is.
Offices somewhere. This idiot couldn't get his build to work for 1,000 builds. Look at that guy. He's still going at it. It's been a year. Come on.
Now, Rex, tell me you haven't been with us the entire 3 hours and 15 minutes we've been doing this.
That's really quick.
And if you have, I think you deserve some kind of prize or at least a letter of condolence.
Yeah, I'll give you a free copy of Spring Framework.
Did it finish?
It did because then we didn't have to recreate the cluster, right? So it's like,
right?
Well, how do we know if it worked? We checked if Postgres worked. Is there a way to get the?
So you can do can you do a kubectl get namespaces? We should see that new namespace, right?
Oh.
Development.
Okay. Context development. Nope. K.
What was it? K set context -- namespace. Kubectl config set context. That's it. Nope. Set context -- current. We'll get there.
Okay.
Look at
looks
that.
happy.
So
I get the secrets though.
Postgres isn't fully started. Rabbit's not fully started, but at least they're there.
Uh-oh.
Where we create the secrets in the bash script are probably not taking in the context.
K get secrets. Yeah, there's no.
So if you do a k get secrets -n default, I bet we'll see them.
Like that.
That'll work.
Configuration of secrets. Okay, so that looks like the. Wait, I'm surprised. I create secrets for Postgres too, right? There's.
Yeah.
Okay. Wouldn't that take account of the context? I thought that was the whole point of.
If it's using the same environment variables, like if the kube config applies throughout, it should.
So
is it in the same action?
Yeah, and same exact step.
Yeah,
named.
Okay. It should have.
And then I do deploy Postgres, and when I do that,
can we look at the output and see if we can see?
Oh yeah, a clue.
Oh, there we go.
Namespace not found. How can that be, sir?
No, that's correct because we do the get namespace or. So that's correct. But you can see where we do the secret create, it's not seeing the Postgres user password.
Aha.
So it's getting null values, which is what you set as the defaults.
Right.
So those values aren't being filled in, and so you're getting empty.
What did I put in the config server? Oh, here we are. This one. BP. Okay.
Is it where should it be pulling from the config server?
Yeah, that's what the GAC thing does.
Oh, but this command probably isn't using the environment variables yet.
Why not?
Can you check to see if the GAC command ran correctly in the CI?
Yeah, sure. Let's see where CI went. No. Here. Deploy Spring Cloud config server. Did I not do it?
Set up configuration for the application. That's
the one. Yeah. It's downloading the binary. It looks like it found something worth downloading. That's great. There you go. Start up, no errors, nothing.
Failed to find the current process ID. Oh, that's fine.
But because it makes sense, right? The environment variable in the config server, it wasn't the same as the one I was using in my secret, my config map. So I need to change that. This is
right, but this
variable would be there if it was the right one, but I didn't match it. So the same thing applies to RabbitMQ. I'm using BP RabbitMQ.
Yeah.
Oh wait, I almost made another mistake, sir. Postgres is this one. Wait, so what was the error again? The
So
error was
the error was that the strings were null. So
right.
I think you should go back and default these to like some dumb string, just so that it has something there. If it
Well,
doesn't
that's the
find
thing.
the variables.
I want to make
What's
sure
that?
this whole thing, make sure it gets it from the config server or fails, which is happily what it's doing.
Yeah. Okay. But
Um,
it failed silently though.
oh, okay.
Like
But
it should have broken. It should have broken CI.
yes,
Right?
you're right. How do we do that? There's a certain
Oh,
thing we can.
I know why. I think we have to do there's like a bash set thing, or basically we have to do like exit on first failure. Otherwise, bash will keep running through the commands.
Right. Okay. So can I just? Okay. So wait. I mean, 1 second. This is the username. That's exactly right, actually. Why would this fail? That's this. That's deployment development. And we're doing configuration, deployment, and here's the config server here. I feel like that should do it, right? I mean,
Yeah.
desktop. It's okay. Deployment. Development. Like in theory, that
Those
variable.
look right.
Yeah.
So go back to your CI script. That's the one that's
Okay.
setting the secrets.
Message. Okay, sorry. Say again.
Go back to the script where we were creating the secrets or applying the secrets.
Okay, for one of them, let's do RabbitMQ.
Yep. And go to the very top of the file. And right under where you do the user bin env bash, do a set -e, set space -e.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Right, and do you need to do the same for Postgres? And that should tell bash to exit the first time it finds an error.
Thank you, sir. That's an awesome idea. Okay, so let's go git push. Good news is, since we're not redeploying the GKE cluster, it's a fast run. This is not like building a Java program. I can do. This is a little awkward, but think about what I just said. I can deploy Kubernetes configuration server, RabbitMQ, and a cluster in about the same amount of time as it takes to build a native image out of my application. Okay, well, we'll get there.
You know what we should have done?
What's that?
We should have done a set-o pipe fail as well.
Set-o pipe fail?
Yeah.
Like that? Oh, yeah. It failed. Message is empty. Dum, dum, dum. Oh, you know why? No, I don't actually know. Yeah, me either. Why would that not work? Okay, so let me put these in these programs. So why wouldn't that work? What have I done differently? If I go to my build.
So why don't you, where you're doing the config scripts, why don't you echo out the like do a cat of the file when it's done, and that way you can make sure the file was created correctly.
Good idea. That's a great idea. Okay.
Hang on. Oh, will the git env update immediately after you've done
Yeah,
that?
I'm not sure. It could be that it's actually visible, but I have to go to another step.
Yeah, so I would oh, GitHub env gives you the file name, does it?
Right, that's from GitHub. Yeah.
Okay.
So, and it could also be the other thing you said is also very, very likely, which is
right.
because I've put it in GitHub env here, doesn't necessarily mean it's available as an environment variable in the next line.
Right.
It might have a step. So let's try echoing the message here. But my hunch is that it's not going to work either way, because otherwise we would have Postgres and RabbitMQ config maps. But either way, git commit. It'd be interesting to see if the file is being written as such. So git commit might say I'm going to git push, and none of this amateur stuff. What is it? I don't know. What is the? I don't care. Whatever. No. Okay. What happened here? Did that Java code change in some way that we didn't appreciate? If a file exists, okay. Otherwise, well, failed quickly.
Wait, it didn't cat the file.
Yeah.
Maybe GitHub env isn't actually set.
I mean, that's a good point too. Let's log it out.
So either the file is empty, or GitHub env isn't a real thing.
I know it's a real thing, or at least it used to be. Like I wrote, used to work. When I say used to, I mean last night. GitHub env, there it is.
Oh, right. Well, if it worked last night, it's probably still going to work today.
Famous last words. What did I change something here? It's writing it out. It's closing the file. So I must have been doing something. Did I reset? Did I forget to do a redirect instead of just, I did that, right?
Right.
BP, remember it even gave us an error. Remember when I was doing just lower? So it clearly understands that that's supposed to be a particular format.
Right.
Why would it be unhappy with me? Why would it forsake me? Okay, let's see. Okay, setup configuration. There's the script. Yeah, okay, so home runner work temp file, whatever, blah, blah, blah.
Okay. But then there's nothing in it.
Well, yeah, when you say it like that, it's pretty depressing.
It's pretty depressing. So you should cat it before you run the config command, and make sure there's something in it before you run your
Yeah.
Java.
I'll cat it at the very top here.
Yeah.
Because by this very first stanza right here, Bootstrap GitHub, right? That should already have a few entries.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I thought the whole point was that these environment variables were supposed to persist from one step to the other. But if I'm so clearly, I think I'm screwing the file up somewhere.
Yeah.
Down, right? It must work at some point. There it is.
Yeah. So for some reason, you're not appending to it, and even worse, you're
Erasing.
then writing nothing to it.
But okay, that's awkward.
It is awkward.
Wait a minute. So this seems happy.
Yeah. So it's fine until your config. So why don't you, like, the command before you run the config client, cat GitHub env, and that way we're certain that it's the config client that's causing the issue.
Fabulous. Okay. Okay.
All right. Make it so.
Have you watched the new Star Trek Discovery season 3?
Dude.
Is that it now?
Dude.
Is that it maybe?
Look at the command you just ran.
What?
Don't you need to do a git add? Or did I miss you doing that?
Why do I need to? Oh no, sorry. -A does add.
Oh yeah, okay. Sorry, I missed that.
Sorry.
No,
Sorry.
you're good. That's me.
I hate Git, so I try and do as little as I can with it.
Yeah.
It used to be
Yeah.
SVN check-in, and then it would save. It would find all the files. It would
Right.
just maybe there was an SVN add. I don't remember. It's only been 12 years. Come on. Okay. Before. Wait, what?
Oh. So it's empty before you run your script.
Yeah. Wait, is it the same script though? Did I log out the file?
I'm really confused.
As am I. I don't quite. How did it deploy the config server? Like the config server itself gets the username and password for the config server? Where does that come from? Oh, I guess it comes from here, right? It comes from my GitHub Actions secrets.
Right.
Okay, that makes sense.
But the cat of the env worked right at the first time you ran it, right? Like, because you ran it in that first task.
Right. Oh yeah. Let me check. Yeah. Here it is. Bootstrap. It's listing out all this stuff, right? So I'm assuming that's coming from having just like all this. When you see resolve variable by when you see it resolve by variable name or whatever, resolve by mode, that's a little scripty thingy here to look at the environment and say, okay, I'm doing eval. I'm saying eval foo equals foo underscore BP mode, whatever. So that worked. And it's doing that. So what's wrong with that actually? Wait a minute. So, okay, so it's before. There's nothing in the environment. What I'm confused about is why isn't there anything in the environment after the program is run? Let me just do a quick sanity check to make sure I haven't lost everything in my tiny little brain. Where did I put that script? Where's my little script to deploy this? It's in deploy from the config server. The config server is configuration service, okay. And it's deploy, right? So deploy.sh. And makes sense. So
all right, so here's something we can try. Where we're running config client, actually write it to a different file.
Yes, I was just thinking that. I was just going to try.
And then cat that file into GitHub Env, and that way we can.
Okay, get the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
Can I just try running it locally first?
Of course.
My program itself is sane. So cd desktop config client, cd target, and source. Cat desktop configuration server creds. Source. And then BP mode equals development. So now, we need get export. Yeah. Right.
Yep. You'll need export, I think, won't you? Maybe not.
I'm going to go, to cat test, right? There it is. Right. So I'll test. Cat test. Yeah, it's.
Okay, so that's working. So
if I put it to a separate file, you're saying?
Yeah, let's put it to a separate file.
Out, whatever.
Right.
And then
so cat out immediately.
To GitHub env, like that?
Mm-hmm. But before you do that, before the, let me think. Do we want to use T or something so we can actually see the contents and make sure that?
You're gonna have to help me. I don't know how to use T. I've never.
You know what? Just on the line before, just do a cat capture file without the redirect.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. Okay. Wait. Hashtag YOLO. Okay. I don't know. Actions. Tis a mystery. Honestly, what happened?
I feel like we did really complex stuff and it just worked. And now we're trying to do something simple.
Yeah.
We're falling over our own feet.
Oh, yeah. Tripping on other people's feet. I'm so far beyond confused here. It worked. I know this worked at one point. I got message. I printed out message last night. I had that.
Mm-hmm.
I watched that TV show Heroes with that really excited Japanese guy when he first teleports. It's like I had that moment last night. I saw a message. Yeah, and went to bed. All is well in the world, except for the absolute chaos swirling me. Okay, let's see. Wait. Echo before. Okay. What did I say? Where did I do that?
Yeah,
I said
something's
club.
Something's not right.
Didn't I?
We should have seen something before it echoed the file name.
Am I the right? This is setup configuration. No, I'm looking for. It should be before after.
Oh, right. Yeah, it should be before after. Yeah.
But not after before. Oh, so dumb. Config client save.
So it then runs it.
Here's after.
Here's
Here's
after. But it's
There's
not.
this.
So there's nothing in capture file.
Looks it. Do I need to export?
No, you don't need to export because you're using it in the same script.
I agree. What I don't understand is everything inside of this just a bash script? Like, should I actually make it a script and just call like that way? Like I'm just putting scripting inside of YAML, but normally I would shell out to a script.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it like runs this in bash with like the set mode x pipe fail.
Right.
Otherwise, it would have continued running after it hit this, right?
I'm missing something obvious.
So it looks like it's not erroring, but it also looks like it's not writing the file. All right, why don't you, instead of using the variable capture file, why don't you just use out? Make sure it's not some weird
like this
thing. Yeah. And then cat. No, I mean literally just specify the file out.
Oh, out. Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Right. And again with the two cats. No, the cats as well. Come on.
Oh.
Come on.
Oh, obviously. Why would variables stop working? But okay, you're right. The ability to store value in a variable has disappeared on us. Clearly, Bash has a bug. Okay. I like it when it fails quickly.
Yeah.
So much of my life is failing slowly. I just, all I want in the world is to fail faster. If the selection has taught us anything, it's about, I want speed.
And I think after this failure, I'm going to have to call it quits because it's now 6 o'clock for me.
Yep, you're a legend, man. Appreciate you. Thanks for, holding my hand.
It was that or do real work.
The init container stuff. So the idea would be, so let me write that down. The idea is I'm going to run the Docker container for the config client once I prove that it does what it's supposed to do in the normal case. And then
as an init container, and you're going to mount a empty dir volume into the init container and the regular container, and that's where the file will get printed, and then that's where the Python file will source it. And then for your Python app, you'll want to write a small wrapper script around the startup that will source the file and then run the Python app.
That can work. An empty dir container?
Yeah, empty dir. So basically it's the opposite of PVC. It's a volume that multiple containers in the pod can access, but without actually having to set up like a expensive block storage device of 1 gig just so you can store a file.
Okay, I like that. I'm not even convinced it's running. Is it caching my old build or something?
I don't know.
I mean,
maybe it's time we switch to use the Docker image.
well, you want to add more indirection? Okay, let's do it. How do you run?
I don't want to do it now because I'm out of time. But
I appreciate it, man. Thank you for everything.
At least now you know sort of where the problem is. Although you're doing the cat GitHub env before and it's empty as well.
Yeah, I don't understand.
So there's something super weird going on in this block. I guess you could like keep pushing that first cat GitHub env up and see where it disappears the first time.
Maybe I could do it here.
Do it in every.
Just to debug log.
Yeah, just do it in every one. Anyway, I'm gonna go. So that also kind of means we'll stop the stream, right?
Oh yeah. Well, you just hang up the Zoom, right? I'll just stop sharing.
Yeah. So just
thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And I think it's useful to show our failures even more so than our successes, so that folks out there understand that Josh Long isn't the god deity that they thought he was, and that he's just a human like the rest of us.
No doubt, I'm the dumbest of us. I've always said that. I'm pretty proud of how many bugs I introduced in my code.
Didn't actually Alanis Morissette write a song about you being a god that walks amongst us? Like, isn't what if Josh was one of us, just a stranger on a bus?
Oh dear, we've blasphemed. We've invoked politics and religion. I think we're.
Oh boy. Yeah. All right, that's definitely time to leave then.
Bye, buddy. Thank you. Have a good night.